This episode of the SuperHypeGaming podcast is brought to you by Charmin. I've been told that my content often invokes inexplicable bowel movements in my audience, so SuperHypeGaming is now partnering with Charmin, and we're going to bring you guys some limited edition butt wipers. Every single roll of toilet paper is going to have my face printed on every single square. So thank you to Charmin. And welcome, everybody. This is episode 5 of the SuperHypeGaming podcast. I am your host, Michael Flanagan, and today I'm joined by another guest, another very good friend of mine, Luke, a.k.a. Bluechromed. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing great. As Michael said, I am Luke Ellis, a.k.a. Bluechromed, coming at you on the SuperHypeGaming podcast, sounding extra silky smooth. You know, that sponsor, Michael, sounds pretty good. I've always wanted to have you between my cheeks. Sounds like the perfect opportunity to do so.
Yes, I now with Charmin, I will be able to sniff and lick your butthole as many times as you want. So you are also a streamer. You're also a much better streamer than I am. And you've got a Twitch channel, you've got a Twitter. So where can people find you?
Yeah, thank you. So you can find me at twitch.tv/Bluechromed, that is BLUECHROMED, or at Twitter at Bluechromed1, because I can't be arsed to make it the same.
Was there another Bluechromed on Twitter?
So I actually have the original Bluechromed account from like 9 years ago when I started a personal Twitter and never used it. But I just have been too lazy to go in and change that.
Oh, okay.
So maybe one day I'll be the OG at Bluechromed.
Yeah. That's pretty funny. So I've got the story where right before we started recording, I just got back from California. I just got back on Thursday, so Dusty was staying with my parents, and I've had her back for a couple days, and Dusty often likes to let me know when she's upset with me or mad with me, and she often does this by shitting in the corner of my of my dining room. So right as we were about to start recording, I noticed Dusty, taking a squat over here, right next to me, by the way, and I pick her up to take her to the litter box. And I get like halfway down the hallway, and she just starts shitting as I'm holding her. I mean, it's like it's literally like the bombing of fucking Hiroshima over here with just shit dropping on my floor. So
plop.
Yeah, pretty much. They were nicely cut logs, I will say. So they were easy to pick up. But yeah, that's been crazy. So yeah, I've been in California for a week, and I was there on a work trip, and I did a lot of fun stuff. A lot of business stuff too. But flew out there Saturday night. I went to a improv club.
Nice.
So I love improv.
Yeah, of course.
And it was really cool. It was really like small, kind of. It was in like a bowling alley. Mm-hmm. And they had the upstairs where they had all their rooms and stuff for events.
Right.
And so these guys had their own like little room. They had like a mini stage set up, and they just had chairs. There was no like tables or anything like that. It was very low key, very
sounds intimate.
Yeah, it was very intimate. And the performers were all great. All really great performers. So that was really fun. And then, let's see, I drove out to, like, downtown Orange County, because I was staying in Orange County. My goal for this podcast is to say, like,
at least 70 times.
Less than 50 times. I want to cut back on that. That is the goal for this podcast.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
I've only counted 19 so far.
Yeah, 19. That sounds about right. So after that, I went to like downtown Orange County, and I had like the best pizza that I've had in a very long time. I am from New York, so I know what New York pizza tastes like.
In California?
Yes. Yeah. So it was called The Sun. I think it was something The Sun, and it had basically everything on it. It had pepperoni, sausage, pineapple, bacon, every kind of pepper you could ever want, onions. And normally I don't like all that stuff on pizza, but it had the thin crust. Thin crust is essential in pizza. None of this fucking doughy crust bullshit that you get down here in Atlanta. Um, but yeah, it was really, really good. I ate the whole thing, and yeah, that was great. And then Sunday just kind of hung out in my hotel room, and then so my boss, her sister lives in California, so she went and hung out with her for a couple days, and then came back Sunday night. We had dinner, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was the training for this new computer system that we're getting at work, which was intense. It was definitely
Really?
a lot of it was a lot of knowledge and stuff like that. She had seen the system before this because she's the one that like talked to them
Right.
and
Made the deal with the vendor, all that.
yeah, she chose this vendor, and I had seen it a little bit before, but I hadn't really dived into it a lot. So it was really intense, and it's a really cool company though. Their biggest thing is that they'll customize stuff for you, so they'll write custom scripts and stuff. It's not, their system isn't just like
Interesting.
here's how it is, and deal with it. They can kind
So,
of set stuff up custom
right, they've
for you.
got some support for your company and your needs. It's cool.
Yeah, they've got great customer support. So that was that. Monday night, I went and did stand up for the first time in 5 years. So that was a thing.
How'd
Drove
it
out.
go? How'd it go?
It went really, really well. So I drove out to, I think it was called Huntington Beach. It was past like a naval base,
Mm-hmm.
and it was cool because you kind of look out on the ocean, and you can see all the ships and stuff. They're just lining the coast, which is really cool. So it was in this tiny little bar, and the guy was, everyone there was really cool. All the comedians that came were really, really cool. I was the second one up to go, so that was really fun, and it went really well. I've been working on the set for about 4 or 5 months, and it's about 5 minutes long. It's your typical kind of open mic length, but it went really well. There's some stuff I want to tweak.
Okay.
I've already made a few tweaks, and eventually I will perform that here in Atlanta at some point. But yeah, it was really
Good.
good. It was it's funny, like episode 0 of this podcast, I talked about like my quest to become creative again, and it's like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
here I am. I'm doing it. I've got a podcast. I've got streams. I've got some stand up stuff that I'm doing. So it's cool.
Bring Michael Flanagan to the people. That's all I
Yes,
ask.
yes. The people want Michael Flanagan. It's true.
They need Michael Flanagan. I know I do.
Yes, I need Michael Flanagan as well. So I've got my notes for like all the shit that I wrote down about California. The last thing I wrote is that driving in California is a fucking nightmare. It's awful. You were just out there like a month ago, right?
I was, yeah. Well, I was in Vegas,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, no, I've been to Cali a lot of times. I've never driven. I've had friends drive me around who live there, and somehow they're just used to it. But I would never ever put myself in a position where I needed to drive in California.
Yeah, so they got me a rental car, and like I drove my boss, to and from the training and stuff like that. And we went to Newport Beach and all that stuff too. And it's definitely like I feel like everyone that lives there has some kind of unspoken rules that they don't share with like tourists and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
There's like this whole set of unwritten rules that only exists in California. It's insane. Everything leads to a highway. Like the highway is like 8 lanes wide. It's ridiculous. I complain about traffic like in Atlanta a lot, but like shit.
Oh gosh.
It
Did you
it
hit
doesn't
LA traffic at all?
a little bit, yeah, a little
Okay.
bit. It wasn't too bad out in Orange County, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was definitely insane. So yeah, I did that. I got back. It was kind of crazy because I left Saturday, got back Thursday, had to go back to work on Friday, and then yesterday, I had my third of the acting workshops.
Yeah,
So
how
I,
was
j-
that?
I just don't get a fucking break. I got no breaks. It's just it's nonstop. That was really fun. I wrote down on my notes here. I wrote rehearsal number 3, crazy lady, because there was there was some new lady there that we had our same kind of two instructors that we always have,
Right.
but there was some other lady that came in, and she was just a bitch. She was the worst. She was like, I don't even know how to explain her. She was just like being an asshole to all these children.
Oh, was she just
And
like doing way too much like criticism or not enough
yeah, it was
guidance? Just
she
being
was
mean?
like, yeah, you guys have talked about this in your previous lessons, so you should know, when they haven't. We hadn't gone over some of that stuff, and I obviously knew, like, I mean, I know everything, not to be like I know everything, but I sometimes during that workshop I don't want to always be the one that's answering the questions, because it's like I feel like obviously I know, like I'm twice the age of some of the kids here,
Right.
even more so. There's like 6-year-olds and stuff in that class. Um, so I want to like let all the kids kind of answer before I answer, but yeah, she was like talking about pantomiming, and she pulled up this video on her phone of like a Levi's commercial
Uh-huh.
where all these like wild idiots were just running around in the forest and stuff, and she's playing it on her phone, and it's like nobody can fucking see that. You're
Right.
and I don't know.
Just a
She was
bad
talking about,
teacher.
yeah, and she was talking about improv, and like she was kind of spreading some misinformation, and I kind of questioned her credentials. She didn't even like introduce herself, so the whole time I was like, "Who the fuck are you
Nice.
even?" Um, but yeah, rehearsal number 3, crazy lady. That was fun. That's going well. So I've got to get my headshots done within, I think, like next weekend. I need to do that. Because we go to the showcase with all the agents, and
Right.
I've got to turn in my resume with
Is
all
that
my shit
coming
on
up
there.
soon?
Yeah, it's November 23rd, so pretty soon.
Yeah, about a month.
But I feel pretty confident in it. I don't know, like, you know how it's gonna work.
Who are you doing
But
headshots through? Is that something that your team is helping you with, or are you going and doing that independently?
so they offer headshots at this company that I'm doing the workshops with.
Cool.
But it's like $600, and so I found another place that does it for a little cheaper, so I'm gonna try
Yeah.
them. Um, they just have to be
Yeah.
professional, and they have to have my name on it. That's really the only credentials
Mhm.
that they need to have. But
Honestly, if you're looking for good headshots, you can find like if you go to a college, like a college forum board, you can find somebody who's in college who has like an amazing portfolio, and you can get great headshots for like under $100.
yeah, probably, I don't doubt it. Um, the problem here is that I live pretty far away from from a lot of colleges, but
Good old Atlanta.
yeah, I could drive up to Athens, but that's like an hour and 30 minutes or some
That's a
shit
whole
from
thing.
where I live. But yeah, that's my 2 weeks. So what have you been up to? What have you been playing? What have you been streaming? What have you been doing in your
Oh
downtime
man,
and stuff?
in my downtime, I do play a lot of video games, but
That's good. That's good for this podcast.
yes, well, so it's funny. I say I play a lot of video games, but I used to be. I always say I'm like sheltered in my gaming life,
Hmm.
and that's because I grew up playing like a very small select group of games, and only now through Twitch and through streaming am I kind of branching out and no longer playing like one game for a year at a time. I'm like trying different games every week. It's been really fun. I think generally my formula of games that I really enjoy are platformers.
Yeah,
Um,
I've noticed that you play a lot of platformers.
yeah, yeah, lots of platformers, lots of like Crash Bandicoot, lots of collectathons like Spyro. This new game Ukulele has been incredible. And then roguelikes, that's actually my bread and butter. That's what I started playing a while back. And I'm just now getting back into that. But even through you guys, through Hibari and you and others, I've learned about so many other genres like Dark Souls. I picked up. I've been having fun with that. Um, so I've really been branching out into every kind of game lately, and it's been a pleasure. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
But
you've gotten a lot of good stream suggestions. I've noticed,
yeah,
and that's really really cool.
yeah, I'm excited both on and off stream because I play a lot of games off stream too. Um, I'm excited to play a lot of games like Dark Souls. I'm terrible. but I'm having fun. Can't wait to explore some more. I was watching Megan, aka Memory Cards, play a lot of Sekiro today, and that game is crisp.
Dude,
Man, that game looks good. Have you played that?
everybody keeps talking about Sekiro again all of a sudden, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like I was literally last night thinking, man, because I still have the icon on my PS4, and so I
Right.
was like scrolling through all my games and stuff. I was like, man, Sekiro, like I didn't like Sekiro as much as some of the Souls games, but like, man, I need to replay Sekiro.
It just looks crisp. Like I don't
That
know about
game,
the gameplay, but it
oh, the gameplay
looks
is
good.
great, but it doesn't have a lot of like replay value, which is what I really like from the Souls games is like
Right,
doing
right.
different builds and stuff. But that game just has incredible moods, like what
Yeah.
Senpo Temple. I don't know if you've seen her in that area, but
What
Senpo
which
Senpo Temple is just like, oh man,
So
this.
she today I watched her fight a gigantic snake, and that made
Mm,
me shiver.
the snake is very very cool in that game. The snake is
Oh
very
my
cool in that game.
gosh.
Lots
Awesome.
of lots of cool snakes in video games recently. We got the World Serpent in God of War. We got the snake in Sekiro. Snakes are making a comeback. Let me tell you, snakes are making a
Yeah.
big comeback in video games.
And it's all because of Naruto. Good old Orochimaru, right?
Oh God. Okay, we're gonna move on. So I've got a couple things for you, Luke. I've got a couple things
Sure.
for you. So the first
Sure.
one is a new bit for this podcast. I love doing bits, and it's hard to do bits with people, but recently having some guests, it's fun. I can do some bits. So I've got a bit for you. This bit is called SAT prep. Are you ready?
SAT prep. I'm ready. Let's take this test.
So this is for you. This is for you, and during this podcast, I'm going to give you a vocab word, and during the course of this podcast, you must use that word convincingly.
Oh,
Okay?
easy. Easy.
So if you use it convincingly, if you use it correctly, then you win. And if you win, you get points. But if you use it incorrectly, if you forget to use it, or if you use it unconvincingly, so if it seems forced or unnatural, which I will be the judge of that, obviously, you will lose. And if you lose, then at the end of the podcast, we are going to close on you reading a hokey video game quote. Okay?
Oh, great. Can I do both? So actually, I have something to go off of this. I am a master at this game. So I do stream on Twitch. I haven't lately, but I used to have friends text me random word combinations, and they'd be
Mm-hmm.
like, "All right, you got to say this on stream," and I would just weave it into my sentences. Like one time, it was about lasagna. I was talking about how the layers of the game were like lasagna.
I did not
So,
know this. This is
yeah.
this is really funny. So you've practiced this basically.
Oh yeah, all the
You're
time.
prepared.
I'm
I didn't tell you about this bit beforehand, but you're like, yeah,
no,
whatever. I've been training my
no,
whole
yeah.
life for this.
Dude, I love improv. This is my stuff.
Okay. So your SAT prep for this podcast is scrupulous. Scrupulous. You want to write that down? Should I say it a third time?
Scrupulous.
Scrupulous. I hear you fucking looking it up, you bitch.
No, no, I'm typing it into my spreadsheet.
Oh,
That's
okay.
so one thing you'll learn about me. I am horrible and super meticulous and obsessive and super anal retentive. So I've got about 1,000 spreadsheets that control my life. Um, so if you ever hear me typing like a madman, I'm probably putting about 10 things into a spreadsheet at all times.
Okay. Okay. I will allow that. I will allow that. All right. So now we can move into the podcast proper, and we're going to start today with a game. We're kind of front loading it with the games and bits and stuff. So we're gonna play a little game here and get kind of loose and fun and jiving. So
Great.
I've got a game for you. I created this game. This game is called Swish or Swash.
Okay.
And I've got a list of recently released and or upcoming game releases, and I'm going to read you the names of these games, and I want you to either say swish or swash. I don't want you to tell me any other deeper thoughts. I don't want you to elaborate on how you feel about the game. All I want you to do is say either swish, which is pretty good. You get a swish. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
dude, swish. Or swash, which is like, no, it's like a total miss or something. I don't know.
Oh
I
yeah.
invented that word. So okay,
I'm ready.
this is the first playthrough of Swish or Swash? Your first game is Indivisible.
Oh man, that is such an easy swash. Just swash that out of here.
Swash. Oh. Okay.
I'm telling you, that's a swash.
Okay.
Get it out.
Okay.
Get it
Okay. This is your game. It's funny because I've literally was just playing this game like 2 hours ago.
I'm not allowed to give you any deeper reason.
That's fair. That's the rules of the game. Code Vein.
Okay, that's a swish. That's like a medium swish there. It's like right on the line of me being able to swash it out, but that's a solid swish.
We are 2 games into this, and you're hurting me already. Outer Wilds.
Okay, I'm sorry to say, this is another swash, just barely a swash.
Outer Worlds.
Yeah, that's a swash.
Both of those are swashes?
Did you say Outer Worlds twice?
No, Outer Wilds was the first game.
Oh, ooh.
These are 2 different games, believe it or not.
So I can't elaborate as to the rules of the game, but they're both swashes.
Okay, both swashes. Good to know.
Yeah.
The Medieval Remake.
Okay, that's a swish. That's a definite swish. Slam dunking on that swish.
Okay. Shantae and the Seven Sirens.
Okay, that's like a super swish for sure.
Super Swish.
Super swish. Yep.
All right, got our first Super Swish. You're only allowed 2 of those.
2 of this. Okay, I'll save the other one for something.
Yeah, you better
good.
save it. Luigi's Mansion 3.
Oh man, I'm using my super swish right now. Super swish that in here. Give it to
Super
me.
Swish. Nice. Jedi Fallen Order.
I want to say this is a swish, but it's actually a swash. I'm sorry to say.
Okay, that's a swash.
Thought it was a swish, and it's a swash.
That's your 4th swash. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Mario
I can't tell you why.
You can't. Those
No.
are the rules. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games 2019, or whatever the fuck this game is called. I think it's technically like Mario and Sonic at the Japanese. I don't know. It's
Am I allowed to?
Like fucking Mario and Sonic Olympic game. Swish or swash.
Is this even legal to swash? I mean, to swish? I gotta swash this.
It's your call.
I'm swashing. I'm gonna swash.
Okay. Shenmue 3.
Ooh, swash.
Death Stranding.
Swash. Easy swashing out here.
I've got 2 more for you.
Okay.
Ukulele and the Impossible Lair.
That's a swish. That's a definite swish.
Swish. Wow. Okay. And your
I
final.
Go ahead.
Your final. Nope. You're not allowed to elaborate.
You're right.
Your final game is Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles.
Oh my gosh, are you serious? I've been like trying to be very scrupulous with how I judge these games, whether I do a swish or a swash. But I really feel like that's a definite swish, no doubt.
That's a swish. Okay. Sadly, you used both of your super swishes, so
I can't super swish.
Just a regular swish.
Can I borrow some super swish from the first super swish? Push it over here.
You may not. You may not.
Dang it.
Okay. So, that's it. That's all the games. That's swish or swash. I'm slightly offended by some of these.
Oh yeah, you're gonna hate my reasoning.
Yeah, I probably would, so I'm not gonna ask about it.
Oh wow, you know what? You're so kind. You're so kind.
I want to save myself and save the people as well.
Oof.
Okay, so that's done with that stupid ass game. Now we're gonna move into some news. So our first news item here today is Sony has officially, unsurprisingly, announced the existence of the PlayStation 5. And
yes.
They've said that it's coming holiday 2020. Are you surprised?
No, I'm not surprised at all. I think it was probably time.
I
I'm
think after
excited.
Xbox said that, or after Microsoft said that their next gen console is coming 2020, like,
Right.
okay, I don't think
Yeah.
these guys are gonna miss their holidays ever again.
No, of course not. No. And for people who play PS4 and for people who play Xbox, I'm happy for them. I'm happy for them.
Hmm. Yeah, you're mostly PC and Switch, right?
Yeah, at the moment, I never really got into the PlayStation, but expanding out on playing a lot of these different kind of games may turn me over to a PlayStation boy at some point.
Hmm. Okay. Um, they haven't said much about what the PlayStation 5 is gonna have. They did announce that PlayStation Now will be on PlayStation 5, which I said last time. It's not really surprising, but um, the price change in PlayStation Now was clearly timed to kind of set it up for the PlayStation 5. And there was some other stuff too where they were talking about the controller, and I
Right.
read something where the controller was going to have like haptic triggers, which meant
What does
something
that?
like it means something um, like if you're pulling, imagine like you're pulling. This is the best like description that I think I saw, is like imagine if you're pulling a bow in a game, the trigger will have more or less tension depending on if it's fully drawn or if you like release. Um, so you'll be able to kind of feel that a little bit. That's my understanding at least.
That sounds pretty awesome for immersion. That actually sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, all the little controller stuff, like I feel like controllers are pretty much perfect at this point. So all those little stuff is, I think that's actually a really good addition. I hope they take the touchpad out. Um, the touchpad in the PS4 controller, I really like never got it.
Right.
Only a couple games used it, and it's just this big giant thing, and like having a touchpad in your controller that's on all the time is like one of the major factors of why the DualShock 4 has like such bad battery life.
Hmm.
So I hope they take that out. I hope they take the stupid light out. I don't want a stupid light on my controller. It's annoying.
You don't want to use it as a flashlight, Michael?
No, I don't. It shows up on my fucking TV when it's dark in my apartment. It's like it's so stupid.
Yeah,
And then they
I feel
added,
that.
and in the revision they added where there's the light in the touch bar. So now the light's like glaring in my eyes. It's like fucking get the shit out of here.
What are you doing,
Um,
Sony? Come on.
yeah. The other thing I want is I want like standard controllers to start implementing the triggers underneath the like on the bottoms of the controller. Like if you've ever seen like a scuff controller or something like that where they add the triggers.
Interesting.
Um, I'm hoping that like games move towards that because I think it's really really good. I have a I forget what it's called. It's not a scuff. It might be like a shark controller or some shit like that, but it's got the triggers on the bottom, and
Kind
it
of
feels
like
really.
where your like pinky and ring fingers sit, or
Yeah, I mean, like depending on how you hold the controller, it's underneath the handle. So like, yeah, I guess if you imagine, yeah, it would be your ring finger and your pinky. So you've got your two fingers on the R1 R2,
hmm.
and then you've got the two fingers underneath. And so it's really cool for like first person shooters because you can like crouch and move, um, and shoot without like kind of lifting any of your fingers and stuff.
Right.
Um, it's good for stuff. I used it a lot for like Dark Souls and stuff, where like if you're like playing Dark Souls, when I play Dark Souls a lot with a regular controller, I have to do like the claw.
Yes.
If you're
I
familiar with the gaming claw to like sprint,
yeah
because you have to like hold circle to sprint,
yeah
whereas you can just map like circle to the trigger underneath, and so you can just so like trying to sprint and move the camera is the issue, right? Because if you're just holding sprint with your thumb, then you can't also move the right analog stick. So
hmm.
if you want to like
Right.
look around while you're moving and sprinting, you can't do all that unless you're clawing, or if you have the triggers, you can just hold the trigger on the bottom and still have your thumbs on the analog sticks. So I'm hoping that new controllers move towards that because
Right.
I think it would be really good.
Agreed.
So yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of information here about the PS5. They've kind of been showing some stuff off. They showed off a few months ago, like, hey, here's what load times are gonna look like on PlayStation 5. It's like okay.
Yeah,
Um,
you did mention that you thought that PS Now still wasn't going to be like. I think you mentioned this either on stream or on your last podcast. You didn't feel like PS Now was going to be necessarily like the first class citizen that maybe Sony wants it to be one day, or do you think that's going to be like the major feature of the PS5?
Oh, well, PlayStation Now is just like a streaming. You can stream PlayStation 3 games on PS4. It's
You don't
basically
think
it's
they'll you don't
imagine
think
like
they'll pull in PS4, PS5 games?
um yeah, I think it'll be I think they're gearing PlayStation Now to be the streaming option for games. I think my point that I said last time is that everyone's worried that like streaming games is going to be like pushed in the forefront.
Right.
And I don't think that's how it's going to be. I think, if you look back at like the PS3 generation, at the start of the PS3, digital games, like the PlayStation Now shop, or not PlayStation Now, but the PlayStation like network store didn't exist when the PlayStation 3 launched. You couldn't buy games and download them to your system.
Right.
And so that kind of slowly started, taking off. And at the start, it was like, having a downloadable game was like a novelty. Like Journey was like one of the first big downloadable only games.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, every single game that comes out, you can just download.
Right. Yeah.
And so, towards it started in the PS3, and then towards the end of the PS3 generation, you had more and more download stuff. And then at the start of the PlayStation 4 generation, like having a downloadable version for every single title was a standard. And so, but you can still go and buy physical games. That hasn't been taken away. And so I think the same thing will happen with the PlayStation 5, where streaming games is kind of a novelty now in the PlayStation 4 generation. But I think that'll be a third option there, where you can still go to the store and buy a game. You can still download your game directly from the PlayStation Store. But we're also going to launch titles on PlayStation Now, and if you pay for our subscription, then you can just stream them. And I think that'll be a strong third contender. But I don't think it's gonna replace, either digital or physical games. It's just gonna also be there.
Right. Yeah, and that makes sense. I don't think it could ever replace it for those people who don't have access to high-speed internet.
Correct. Yeah. It yeah, I don't. The thing that I think people are worried about too is if, there's been a lot of talk about backwards compatibility with PlayStation 5, and Sony hasn't confirmed anything, but people are worried that PlayStation Now is going to be the answer to that. Which, I mean, I don't know. I think it would be a fine. People want to like take their disc and put it into the PlayStation 5 and play it that way, which they can get it to work. They can get it to where, the way Xbox does it, from my understanding, is that you put the disc in and it basically just reads the license. It uses the disc to read the license, and then you just download the game. You're not actually playing it from the disc.
Right.
So they could do something like that, but who knows? I'm not going to get hyped for backwards compatibility until they actually show off the PlayStation 5, but
yeah.
And then I also have Sony has some kind of like awards ceremony or something happening in December.
Oh, good old awards, gaming awards.
I thought I wrote that down, but apparently I didn't. But who knows? There could be some PlayStation 5 info there. I'm expecting that they'll do. I'm expecting that they're not going to talk about PlayStation 5 again for the rest of the year, and then sometime in January or February they'll have like, kind of like how they did with the PS4, where they'll have their own event and they'll show everything off, and there'll be a load of stupid social features that will. They'll hype up, and then nobody will give a shit about them. But
Right.
they'll have games, and my prediction is that the PlayStation 5 will not be that different from the PlayStation 4.
Okay, fair enough.
It'll
Just
be
more
a
powerful.
box. Yeah, it'll be a more powerful box that'll play games. They'll have some cool new features. I think PlayStation Now will probably have a revamp for the PlayStation 5, and they'll have a couple of surprises. I think the controller will be a surprise. There'll probably be some cool stuff with that. I think there'll be some kind of feature that will be cool that people might shit on. Like, what I'm thinking about is like the share button on the PlayStation 4, where everyone's like,
Okay.
fucking share button.
Yeah.
What do I want that for?
Right.
But now people love the share button. Like I fucking love the share button. You can take screenshots and videos like in game. It's like a
It
it's
grew
a
on you.
weird new thing, but like it's cool.
Yeah.
So I think they'll have something like that. It's not like a huge like oh my god game breaker, but it'll be a cool neat new thing.
Yeah, I really like what you mentioned first at the segment about the haptic feedback. I feel like for me, as somebody who's played like the Wii and the Switch and a lot of Nintendo systems that have that motion control kind of baked in, that sounds very intriguing. I'm curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I think the DualShock 5 will mostly look like every other DualShock has. I
Keeping it
think
real.
they've got a winning design there. I think
Yeah.
the DualShock is a very nice controller, so that'll be that. So that's the PlayStation 5. Also on PlayStation or Sony released system software 7.0 for the PlayStation 4, and there's not a whole lot of stuff here. They increased the maximum number of people who can join a party, like a voice chat party, from 8 to 16. So if you
Ooh.
want 15 other people screaming in your ear while you play video games, then there's the feature for you. That sounds like absolute. I mean, 8 people sounds like absolute
Right.
chaos to me. So
What would the purpose be of having that many people? Are there games where you can play with that many people together?
I don't know. Like I was thinking about Destiny, and Destiny, like your raid teams have 6, I think,
Okay.
and so I mean, I guess it's just hey, if you want to hang out with 15 of your friends and talk shit while you're playing. I can't really think of like, I mean, you think of like battle royales, but even that is like 4-person teams, right?
Something like that.
So I don't know.
That's an interesting feature. I'm sure it's going to help somebody, but I don't know who.
Maybe there's like a team deathmatch mode in like Call of Duty or something where it's 16 people versus 16
Ah,
people and you can all be on the same team, but I do not know.
yeah,
We've
yeah.
got some of the your typical stability updates that Sony likes to put in their updates. You've got connectivity has improved, audio quality of voice chat has been improved. Those are all really funny. I don't know if you're familiar with like the stability meme
No,
for
not at
for
all.
for PlayStation updates. It's like a whole thing. Every time they're like, yeah, we improved stability, and it's like, what the fuck does that mean? And for a
Less
while, like
crashes.
for a while, like when Kaz Hirai was still president of Sony, people would post memes. It'd be like him like bouncing something. It'd be like, yeah, he improved stability. So that's a whole thing. They also
Nice.
updated. Let's see, where they've got some new remote play stuff, which
Okay.
further killing the Vita.
What is a remote play?
Remote play is basically so you can go onto your phone, you can go onto your laptop, and basically stream your PlayStation 4 to a different device. Um,
Whoa.
so like for Vita, that was a big thing for Vita is that you could that was like one of the biggest selling points for Vita is that
Yeah.
you could connect it and you could play PlayStation 4 games on your Vita like in bed or in a different room or something like that.
Wow.
Um, and then after the Vita unfortunately died, they they've kind of been adding to this. So they did the laptop thing where you can do it on your laptop or computer, PC, whatever. They're adding. It looks like you can download the Remote Play app for Google Play and App Store. I think those are new. Um, so you can go on your phone, your iPad, any of that stuff, and
Hmm.
you can actually connect your controller too. So you can play
Ooh,
with your actual controller and
I like
and
that.
uh, just do it that way. Yeah,
That's
it's
pretty
it's
cool.
it is cool. I've tried it a couple times,
Yeah.
and I played Dark Souls 2 on the Vita in bed
Oh, cool.
one time, and it's pretty cool. I don't really have a lot of use for it. I'm not sure if it works like if you're not on the same network. I'm not really sure if you can
Uh-huh.
like be like in another state and do it.
Right.
I imagine maybe if you're connected to the internet, I'm sure it works somehow. I'm not a tech guy, so I
Yeah.
honestly couldn't tell you, but
I'm
um,
curious. Like I've been thinking about that. That sounds really cool. I'm wondering if you can. since it's streaming, I'm not sure how it works, but curious if you can like utilize the hardware you have. So if you've got like a
Oh
sick
no.
gaming PC, no.
No. It's
Oh,
strictly streaming like the
yeah, okay.
video to to your thing.
Got it.
So like
Okay.
so
Not
like
as cool,
when it
but
came to
still
lap
awesome, but not as cool.
yeah, like when it came to computers and PCs and stuff, people were like, "Yes, finally Bloodborne on PC."
Right.
Which I guess is technically true, but it's still running on the PlayStation 4. You can't
Yeah,
like
yeah,
enhance
yeah.
it or mod it or anything. It's literally
No,
just
like
streaming.
120 FPS.
Yeah, no, unfortunately.
Right.
Can't get rid of the weird frame pacing that plagues Bloodborne, unfortunately, but it's literally just streaming the display.
That's still a nice offering that they have, though. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. It's cool to see them updating it to new devices and stuff since again they killed the Vita.
Right.
But
I sense some saltiness there, Michael.
yeah, I mean, Habar is the same way. The Vita is a great handheld that was just killed by. I think it's hard. I think it's hard for a company to have both a handheld and a home console. I think
Hmm.
Nintendo struggled with this too. It was just the opposite for Nintendo, where their handhelds were doing really well,
Right.
but we had the Wii, which was really
Yeah.
was really successful and sold a lot, but didn't
Yeah.
have a lot of software, like first party software. Um, and people weren't buying like there was like millions and millions and millions of Wii's, out there in homes, but nobody was buying software because all these people bought it for their grandmas for fucking Wii Sports and shit.
Right. Exactly. And Just
Um,
Dance.
yes, which I think they're like
The last game in 2020 is coming out for the
yeah,
Wii. Yeah,
like
the reason I know this, my nieces still have their Wii. That's the
oh
only gaming
man,
system that family has, and they love it. And every single year they get the new Just Dance game, and they play it
it
on their OG Wii.
it's great that you know somebody that is actually using that version. That's
Oh yeah,
cool.
it's incredibly popular. I was shocked to find that out, but apparently the Wii is like still being played by millions of people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, so yeah, and then they also had troubles obviously with the Wii U, um, but like the 3DS killed it. The 3DS had
Hmm.
fucking tons of software and sold fucking buttloads of hardware copies and shit like that.
Oh
So
yeah, oh yeah.
I think Nintendo kind of realized that, and so they said, hey, we're just gonna do both in one, which is smart. Um, but yeah, I think if you're not gonna do both, like just do one or the other. And I think
Right.
Sony learned that, and I don't think a Vita 2 or anything like that is gonna be coming
Was there a
anytime
problem
soon.
with the Vita? Like, did it just not have a big library? What
Yeah,
was the?
it didn't have a big library. I mean, it kind of did
Yeah.
at the start, but it was all kind of like they had like the Vita Uncharted game, which wasn't made by Naughty Dog. It was made by Sony Bend, um,
Hmm.
which was like okay, it's like an okay Uncharted game. They had the Killzone game, which was actually pretty good, but again, it was like pretty good for a handheld.
Right.
They had Gravity Rush, which was great. I actually didn't play Gravity Rush on the Vita, but that game is phenomenal. Um, and it got a lot of indie support. Like indie developers loved putting their games on the Switch or on the Vita.
Right.
But like a year and a half into the Vita's life cycle, like Sony just stopped kind of putting big first party titles on that piece of hardware. So it's just like okay,
Right.
but
That's kind of a bummer.
it is for sure. Still a cool device. You can play a
Yeah.
lot of like PlayStation classics and stuff on there.
Oh, nice.
You can remote play, so that's a cool thing. But all right, next up we have Doom Eternal, which has been delayed. This game was supposed to come out November
Hmm.
22nd,
Yeah.
but its new release date is March 20th, 2020. Which is okay. I'm always okay with games being delayed because it's like, oh shit. Now I'll have more time in November for all of the other 50,000 games that are coming out.
Well, there is one problem with that release date, Michael. As you may know, there's a huge crossover between Doom Eternal fans
Oh
and
boy.
Animal Crossing fans.
Oh shit. I
Um,
thought you were gonna say Crystal Chronicles.
no, no, no. Crystal Chronicles only got delayed till January. But there's a
Okay.
huge crossover between Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing fans. As you know,
Mm.
both R-rated games, very intense, very gory.
I've
So
seen the images of Doom Guy nursing. What's the mayor's name from Animal Crossing? I forget.
Isabel,
Isabel. Yeah, I've
yeah.
seen those images where he's teaching her the ways of gun and how to kill demons.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be interesting to see who wins out in that battle. But two R-rated games coming out at the same time. Interesting move for Doom Eternal, no doubt.
It is an interesting move. Um, I'm excited for this game. I'm on total media blackout of this game.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah, Doom 2016 is a 10. It's one of the best games of the generation. It's fucking phenomenal. Everyone should go play that game. It's one of the best, probably one of the best first person shooters ever made. I mean, it's
Wow.
fucking so visceral and really good. And everything that I've seen of Doom Eternal, I've watched like the first couple trailers that they put out where
Yeah,
they showed off like the
they're
grappling
good.
hook and all that
Yes.
stuff. It looks like more Doom. It looks like more Doom with new stuff, and so I'm in. I'm sold. id Software makes good games, so
Hmm.
I don't need to see any more. I'm already gonna buy the game. I'm sure it's gonna be great. I know that's like bad practice to do, but like it
No,
looks
I
great.
mean, yeah.
It
It
looks great. Their
honestly,
last game was great, so like I'm good. I don't need to see any more. Just take your time, polish it up, put it
right.
out in March. I think that's a great release time for that game.
Hmm.
Um, because God, there's so many games, dude. There's so many games.
Yeah, there really are. But it'll be good. It's one of those games that looks good enough that even people who aren't really into FPS games like myself, even that's going to be a pickup for me.
Don't play it on Switch though. That's all I'm saying. Don't play it on Switch. That Switch version is rough for
Nah,
Doom 2016, and Doom Eternal
yeah.
Switch version is going to be rough.
There are some games where you can get away playing the Switch. I mostly do Switch games on the Switch and everything else on the PC. So
Yep.
that's probably going to be a PC pickup for me, unless I really feel like playing it on the PS4.
Mm, that game is going to be delicious.
So toasty, so good.
Um, and the weird thing here too is that like they announced Doom 64. It's coming. You're going to be able to buy it separately, I assume, but it seems like it's also coming as a pre-order bonus, and so that has also been delayed for some weird reason. I don't know why they can't just put
Interesting.
Doom 64 out, but
Is that a port or a remake?
it's a port. It's a port.
Got it.
Um, Doom 64 now that I've played Doom 3, which I famously loved.
Oh
Um,
yeah, of course. Some really great moments on stream with that game.
yeah, that had nothing to do with the game itself. I had to make all those. I had to make all those moments myself. That was the true test of creating content creation.
Right.
Um, Doom 64 is now the only like mainline Doom game that I haven't played, so I'm interested to check that
Okay.
out.
Okay.
But it's been delayed until March 20th. So
Well, there you go.
okay, next on my list I have just a short little story kind of, but Hideo Kojima came out and talked about some stuff. Talked about some of the challenges after leaving Konami,
Really?
and yeah, he didn't get like super deep. I mean, everyone wants him
Okay.
to just like start talking shit, but
Yeah, just rip them a new one, of course.
he's he's not going to do that. He did thank Konami, um, which I totally understand. I mean,
Hmm.
Konami put him on the map. He had amazing
Yeah.
opportunities at Konami. Even if the end of that relationship was a little sour, he still got to make
Right.
some great games there.
And that
Um,
they're who brought him up
yeah,
for sure.
and he brings up a good point where there's been several kind of like big AAA, especially like Japanese developers that have left their company and split off to make their own game. You've got
Hmm.
Kenji Inafune, you've got
Right.
Koji Igarashi, and those games are of varying levels of quality. Mighty Number Nine was not so great. Bloodstained was well received. I didn't like
Right.
Bloodstained as much as some other people did, but I think it's a solid game. But like those aren't AAA level games. Those aren't Mega Man or Castlevania level games anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so these developers are splitting off and doing these independent projects. but nobody's really done that and made another AAA game,
Right.
which is kind of what Kojima is doing with Death Stranding. So,
Hmm.
he talks about how he's kind of the first person to do that, which people always shit on Kojima for sounding like condescending and full of himself, but he has a
But
point, I think.
yeah, I mean, he walks the walk. I mean, he's not
Hmm.
BSing around. Like he says that because it's true. It's not a lie. It's not an ego. He just makes good games.
Yep, yep. And he talks a lot about how it was difficult because he hadn't, you're leaving a company and it's like, okay, you have no one.
Right.
But suddenly for him, he realized that he did have a lot of people. He had a lot of contacts in Sony, obviously, but a lot of his team at Konami kind of followed him and stuck around with him. So he was thankful for that. But
I bet. I bet. I think that's probably a big part of why he's been successful. Having that team, having those people come with him, having people he's known and worked with to help build that future.
I'm also on media blackout for Death Stranding.
You just
I,
black out all the games you want to play.
Basically, I mean that's how I do it because it's like
Yeah.
Death Stranding is a game that, like, for better or for worse, like, no matter how that game turns out, I want to experience that game like fresh. I don't want to see all of
Yeah.
these cool moments and trailers and stuff. I just want to experience that game.
I like
Um,
that. That's real. That's cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I do it for movies too, where it's like,
Oh, really? Good.
I did it for Endgame, where it's like I watched, the first trailer, and then after that, I was out.
That was a good movie.
Yes, it was a good movie. Habari hates it, but
I know, but Hobari hits a lot of stuff. Love
actually,
you,
I don't think
Hobari.
Habari has even seen it. He
Oh,
just
really?
hates. He
Because of
hates.
Thanos.
Yeah, yeah. He
Yeah.
hates. He hates the depiction of Thanos, which I get,
The
but
snap.
I think it works. I think it works for that on
That
screen
medium.
cinema universe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So next up, I don't know if you've seen this. Have you seen the horrific Sonic the Hedgehog mask
What?
that's been going around? You haven't seen it? Okay,
No, I have not.
we'll get a live reaction here. Here, I'm gonna post it in show chat.
Oh my goodness. What is this monstrosity I'm about to see?
So I'm sure you're familiar with the Sonic the Hedgehog movie,
I am. Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
live action movie that's making, that they got a ton of heat for the design, and they like took it back and were like, we're gonna put this
For
back in the
6
oven.
months.
We're gonna totally
Yeah.
change the design. Well, some of the Halloween masks that were supposed to be coming out. This movie was supposed to come out this year. So they had Halloween masks. I think I'm at like the
Oh,
68th
no.
by this point. Sidebar. I've said
You're at the
I've,
what?
I've I've said probably like 68 to 70
No.
at
Are
this
you,
podcast
Michael?
already.
Michael, you're actually up to 83.
Are you actually tracking it?
Of course. No, I'm not. No, I'm not really tracking
Okay.
it, but
I wouldn't put that past you. But there you go.
I
That's
am
84.
anal enough to do that, though.
Yeah. So, the Halloween costumes that were, I don't know if they're still coming out. I mean, possibly, but they're based on the old design. And so here, I'll post this for you and let you take a look at it.
Sure.
Here's that's uploading. The suspense right now.
Oh man, I can't wait. Oh god, no, that's a full head mask. Oh god. Oh,
There you go, baby. Sonic the Hedgehog. Look at his smirk. He's got such a nice
oh man.
he's got such a nice smirk on his face.
I wonder why they went with the design that they did for the movie originally. To me, that's like such a lack of like focus group testing. Like clearly they didn't do any of that because if you brought in even a single group of people, they'd be screaming and crying, right?
Yeah, for me it's the teeth. I think the teeth was like
Yes.
the most disturbing part of
It
it.
was bothering. Yeah.
Like even like, I mean, the design is bad, but even some of the rest of it is like the teeth and the legs are like the worst. The legs
Right.
are like, he has like weird like leg muscles and shit. It's like,
Yeah.
what is this? But and the poster too. I don't know if you saw that like first teaser poster where it's like him. He's on like the San Francisco Bridge, the Golden Gate
Uh-huh.
Bridge,
Yeah.
and it's a shot like from his dick. I'm not even kidding.
Okay.
It's like a
Okay.
shot. Okay, if you haven't seen this, I gotta look this up too.
I haven't.
Sonic. I don't even know how to look.
A
Sonic
shot
movie.
from his crotch, huh?
Yeah, the camera is like in his dick, and
Oh God.
it's like showing the trail
Uh-huh.
that he ran, I guess, previously. All
Okay,
right,
okay.
all right. Here, I got it here. I got it here. Take a look at this,
I'm
buddy.
ready for Sonic. Bring on the Sonic. That is
How do you feel about that? Like
um
the camera is in his dick in this shot. Like, there's no question. Like, where else would it be?
it's just such an odd shot choice. I don't know. I
It's
don't know how
oddly
to feel about
sexual. It
that.
is. It really is oddly sexual. And
Oh man.
here's the thing: is that I feel like this is the movie. Like, this is the movie and the design that Sonic the Hedgehog fans deserve. Sonic the Hedgehog fans are fucking degenerates, and they love all this sex shit. They love all the creepy sex, like make me pregnant Sonic. They love all that shit. And so I feel like this is really not that off base, to be honest with
That's
you.
fair. I mean, I'm into it. I'm definitely into it.
Like, Sonic needs to like have hypersex with a human in this movie, and that wouldn't even be the weirdest thing that Sonic has ever done. I mean, lest
Oh
we
god.
forget that Sonic like made out with a human child.
Wait, what? Hold on. Back it up.
Yeah,
What'd you
in
say?
in Sonic the Hedgehog in Sonic 2006,
Okay.
he like kisses a woman. She's like a human child, I think.
Wow, that's a thing. Oh
Yeah,
god.
I can show you this. I can show you this one too. This is great podcast content. I'm just
You know,
showing you pictures that nobody can see.
Michael, you're gonna scar me. I'm gonna have nightmares about Sonic now.
Um,
Oh god.
I mean, is there any other? Okay. I
Oh,
mean,
I
you
love it.
can't have a dream about Sonic, right? It's always a nightmare.
Always a nightmare. I don't. Well, yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Are you familiar with the Sonic Dreams collection?
Oh man. I can't. Wow, you can barely tell what's going on there. Is that a
Yeah,
kiss
it's
that's
supposed to be
happening?
it's supposed to be a GIF, so like I don't think it
Oh.
translated very well.
Oh,
But
got
here,
it. Maybe I
here's
can
here's
click it.
here's like just a
Oh no.
still image of the lady that he French kisses with.
Wow, they're really going at it there. Oh. Okay. That doesn't seem that weird. Is that weird? Well, I mean, I guess it's weird that she's a human, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Um, if you're not familiar with the Sonic Dreams collection, I implore you to
No.
just look that up on YouTube. It's it's pretty funny. Um, okay, and that's enough Sonic talk for the podcast. We can't go over 10 minutes of Sonic talk, or we'll get classified on iTunes as like this
Uh-huh.
whole other Sonic podcast. It's just, I don't want to be classified in that group. I really
Well,
don't.
if we're not going to talk about Sonic, can we at least talk about Shadow the Hedgehog?
No,
Okay.
no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Speaking of iTunes, we finally got confirmed or accepted into iTunes. So the podcast is now available on iTunes,
Congratulations, my man. Awesome.
which is cool. Now it's a race. So it's a race now to see if I can get kicked off of iTunes quicker than it took me to get accepted into iTunes. So I'm really going to work for it. I'm really going to work for it.
Did they ever
Uh,
like explicitly reject you? Did they give you a letter
yes.
saying, "Oh,
Yes.
really?
Like 15 times.
Really?"
Yeah, they kept giving me the message that said, this submission seems like a test and not an actual podcast.
Oh, right, right, right.
Try again. And I just tried again, and eventually they're like, hey, you're on iTunes now. Like,
That's
okay.
hilarious. Oh man. Well,
This is-
congratulations, man. That is awesome.
Yeah, it is pretty. It's
One more
something.
platform. One more platform. I personally don't use iTunes at all anymore. I'm a
I don't
Spotify
either.
boy. Yeah, 100% Spotify now.
I think
But
iTunes like totally changed the way like the iTunes store like doesn't exist anymore or some shit. I don't
it's
know.
weird. Yeah.
It's
By the way, I have to say, so when you first started the podcast and you were only uploading to SoundCloud, I actually downloaded the SoundCloud app specifically to listen to your podcast, and I was really impressed. Like the SoundCloud app is actually pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot of like if you research like podcast hosting on
Uh-huh.
Google, a lot of people say like don't use SoundCloud, but I like SoundCloud. I think SoundCloud is good.
I thought it was pretty intuitive. Now I will say Spotify is definitely better because I think like they organize it by podcast, and I've always got you in my podcast section in my pocket. But
I'm honored. This is
oh,
what you
always.
get when you listen to my podcast. I have now. Every single person that listens to my podcast has been on the podcast now. So, hey, if you want a spot,
Get in here.
yeah. Um,
Uh,
all right, we got like two more stories. Two more stories.
sure.
Um, are you familiar with the Madden curse, my friend?
The Madden curse. So I think you've actually told me about this on stream, but I'd love to hear more about it. I'd love to hear more about the Madden curse.
So the Madden curse is the idea that a great athlete gets put on the cover of a Madden game,
Yes.
and then immediately afterwards they have some injury.
Yes, yes, yes.
So recently, Patrick Mahomes, who is a phenomenal athlete, this is like rookie of the year last year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Really great guy. He plays for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Really cool. Like he's always like under control. He's always like cool and calm, and he's not like Tom Brady, where like Tom Brady like drops a pass and you can tell, like you can't hear him, but you can read his lips,
Right.
where it's just like
He's got the poker face.
fucking bitch, god damn it.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is like, it's cool, it's all right, it's cool. So yeah, Patrick Mahomes has suffered a gruesome knee injury
Ooh.
a couple nights ago, so
How's that?
hopefully he'll be okay. It says he'll be out for up to 6 weeks,
Oh, wow.
which sucks. It's not the end of the world. It's not like a career-ending injury or anything, thankfully. But
But he definitely got hit by the Madden curse, no doubt.
yeah, he definitely got hit from the Madden cursed. We had the last victim of the Madden curse was Antonio Brown, who was on the 2019,
Yep.
who was released from the team, cut from another, accused of rape, and
God.
caught sending threatening text messages to someone else who had accused him of sexual assault. So, I'm gonna say the Madden curse is probably a thing.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
There's a Madden like ghost that's out there that's seeking vengeance.
God, please don't come here.
Yeah, hopefully I'm never on the cover of a Madden game.
Yeah. If they've ever got like a Madden Improv
Yeah.
2019 or
I mean,
2020.
they've asked me. They're like Michael, do you want to be
Yeah.
on Madden 2020?
You're like, get that. No, no, I'm not about that.
Yeah, I'm just starting a stream. I'm just starting a podcast, and you want me to be on the cover of Madden 2020? Don't
How
you
to
know what
end your whole
happens to people
career.
that? Don't you know what happens to people that like are featured on the cover of your video game? Come on! You think I want that? I'm just
No.
starting out. I'm just starting out
No
here.
way.
What are you doing to me?
What are you doing?
What are you doing to me?
Are you crazy? Get him out of here.
This party's just getting crazy. All right. So our last story is we're ending on a big flop here. We're ending on a big floppy flop. Google has announced that the Stadia will launch for founders on November 19th. Great. Phenomenal.
Very exciting.
Everyone's excited about Google Stadia. Hopefully they'll be a sponsor of the podcast next week.
What is that? What is Stadia? Is that the streaming thing?
Yeah, it's a streaming thing.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
I'm not super familiar with it. So the founders pack is like $130, and you get the service. I think you get the controller, and like I
Is
guess
that
you
like
can.
130 for a year or like full like forever?
It's $130 for a hardware starter kit with 3 months of premium service, and
Oh,
$10 a
ooh.
month afterwards.
Wow, that's a big investment. I mean, it must be pretty good if like either it's really good and it's worth the price or it's totally overpriced and it's garbage. Probably no.
I think it's totally overpriced. I
Yeah.
mean, this thing is
That's so much
literally the
money.
Ouya 2. Are you familiar with the Ouya?
Yeah, wasn't that like a Kickstarter thing that just
Yes.
instantly died?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was more or less the same thing. Um, I mean, it's a subscription service. The controller looks like someone who's not one of the big three making a game controller. You know,
Yeah.
it's got that. I don't know.
I don't really understand the hardware choice, like that they went into hardware. I feel like that sounds like an amazing service for online, like something like the Epic Game Store or Origin or Steam or Battle.net. Like I don't understand why they didn't just go that route for
Well, the way that
PC.
I understand it is that it's like an app, so you can get it on your phone or
Oh,
your TV or your computer, and it's a lot like remote play for Sony, where
okay.
you're just streaming the game.
Right.
It's not playing on your hardware; you're just streaming it, and you can stream it from various different devices, and you get the controller, but I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
Google is weird because they try all these new things. They just try like a bunch of new shit. Like, do you remember the Google Eye from several years ago?
The Google Eye? No, what was that?
They were basically like glasses, and
Oh, yeah, Google Glass?
yeah, was it called Google Glass?
Yeah, they were. They were.
Okay, they like gave up on that.
Yeah, it was one of those things where like it was not adopted at all, and then like they started to come out with some cool stuff, and then just completely pulled out.
Yeah, Google is the pull-out king for sure.
Yeah, I don't know about this streaming thing. I think like I feel like I remember reading when it first started being talked about, there was some beta testing going or like alpha testing going on, and it was pretty poor in the performance department. Um, So unfortunately, unless like they really come out with a great demonstration, it's probably going to be one of those things where you sit and watch to see how it goes and probably never pick it up.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. It's interesting to see like how this is gonna play out. If it's gonna be, I mean, I can't imagine. I can't see it playing out to where this thing is a huge hit and everyone's like, "Yo, Google Stadia, this thing rules."
Taking over the gaming world.
Yeah, man, it's the next big thing. I
Yeah,
don't know.
we really got to be scrupulous about Stadia and kind of where that's going. Make sure we don't pick it up too early. It's a big investment, no doubt.
Yes, I agree. Um, and then one last thing I wanted to not really discuss, but just bring up. I'll probably be called a coward for this, and I probably am, but I feel like I would be remiss to not just at least bring up the whole Blizzard Hong Kong shenanigans that are happening.
Sure,
Believe it or not, based on my podcast titles, I do want to keep this podcast somewhat light, and I'm not really afraid to talk about it. If anyone wants to talk to me about it, I'll gladly talk to anyone about it. It's just that I'm only 5 episodes into this podcast, and so I don't really think it's I don't really think it's yet the platform for that. But I didn't want to just ignore it, but I don't really want to have like a whole arduous
sure,
conversation about it.
but it's a
But
thing. It's a
it's a
thing.
thing. In general, I stand against oppression. Um, but if I feel like there's thousands of other podcasts that you can listen to all of that dribble on. So that is that, and
Beautiful stuff.
that's all of the news topics that I have written down.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you have anything that I might have forgotten about, or if
I
there's anything
mean,
else that you want to talk about.
every single one of my notes was about Crystal Chronicles.
All right, well, let's talk about Crystal Chronicles. Let's sell me on it, dude. Sell me
Do
on
you
it.
actually want to? Do you want to go into it?
Hit me.
Okay, sure. So Crystal Chronicles.
I
I don't
guess I
know
should
how
point
much.
out. I should point out that
Sure.
it's my understanding that you were the one that wrote that on my notes a couple podcasts ago, where it said talk about Crystal Chronicles or some shit, and I don't know
I
anything
may
about
have
Crystal
stuck over it.
Chronicles, so I was not equipped to to have that conversation by myself. So
Yeah.
enlighten us all.
Sure. So, let me give you some background about Crystal Chronicles. This was a game from 2004. So you may be thinking, who the hell cares? But it's actually getting a re-release, an HD re-release with some new functionality on January 23rd, 2020. So this game, just as some background information, it's called Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, but it's pretty far from any other Final Fantasy game that's come out before. It's actually very similar to it shares a lot of the same concepts as Monster Hunter. if you're
Hmm.
familiar with that series. So there's a lot of dungeon exploration, boss slaying, collecting of loot, crafting of gear. And I think it was one of those games that didn't get a lot of marketing back in the day.
This
And
game came out
unfortunately,
originally on GameCube, right?
yes, it did. Yeah, back on GameCube in 2004. This is a game that didn't get a lot of marketing and didn't get a lot of buy-in for a lot of reasons. So this was a game. Thank you for bringing up the GameCube thing. So there was a hardware requirement for multiplayer. So this game was way ahead of its time in terms of multiplayer functionality. But in order to play multiplayer, every single person had to have a Game Boy Advance and a special cord to connect that Game Boy Advance to your GameCube to act as a controller. So
Jesus.
I know, right? So a very expensive multiplayer. Your friends had to be pretty ballin'.
So you use
At
the
that
Game
age.
Boy. You use the Game Boy Advance as a controller for this game that you were playing on your TV.
Yes, because it basically was your second screen.
Did
So
it
the second
display
screen,
anything on the Game Boy?
yes, it did. It did. So it gave you actually a ton of really, really helpful information. It was a really cool feature, but the fact that it was required was kind of the thing that killed it, I think, in terms
Hmm.
of multiplayer adoption. But once you got past that requirement, the multiplayer, the quality of the multi, I just said for the first time. Wow. So put one on that tally for me.
All right,
Oh,
you're.
number two.
We've got to go several more hours for you to catch up with me,
I
but
know. But this is a game that I think was ahead of its time in terms of multiplayer for a lot of reasons. So I can go on about this game forever, but I think the things that made it really special were the different progression systems as well as the multiplayer combat. So in single player, the idea is that you have a Moogle who carries this chalice, and this chalice protects you in a small area. And if you go outside of that zone, you start dying due to miasma sinking into your skin, which is basically like poison gas in the air
I'm sorry.
that
I'm
doesn't
sorry.
hurt monsters.
Could you describe what a Moogle looks like?
Oh yeah, sure. So Moogle is basically like a flying. Uh, how how do you describe this? It is like a
I know
flying
what it looks like.
cat.
I'm just interested to see if you could
Yeah.
describe it.
So I want to be scrupulous about how I describe this Moogle. I think it's like a flying cat with an extra big head, huge clown nose like the size of a tomato, and a little pom pom at the end of an antenna on the top of its head, in addition to wings on its back, so it can fly around. So
That's a
was
pretty
that
good
sufficient?
description.
Thank you,
I'll allow it. Yeah.
thank you.
So sorry. Just to go back,
Yeah,
you had to use a Game Boy Advance as a controller. You could not
you
use a
did
Game Boy. So like all
for
of your
multiplayer.
friends had to have a Game Boy Advance, or you just couldn't play this game.
For multiplayer, yes.
Wow.
Which was a struggle, but once you finally found the right group of people who could get together and play, phenomenal,
So
phenomenal.
so if player one, you said that like information is displayed on the Game Boy Advance,
Yep.
but if player one is playing with a GameCube controller, where is that information?
So you wouldn't. So for single player, you had the option. You could either play with the game controller, or if you had the Game Boy Advance, you could do it for the extra information. But once you went in the multiplayer, it was required. Oddly
Okay,
enough,
so even player one in the multiplayer needed a Game Boy controller.
yes, every single player.
Jesus Christ! No wonder this game was.
I know, I know. But the
So what?
quality of the multiplayer was really good.
When is the re-release coming out?
January 23rd, 2020. Coming up here pretty soon.
Are you prepared to talk about the frame issues with the Switch version?
Um, I'm gonna say that it's probably not a big deal. I don't think there are necessarily going to be frame issues.
I mean, did you
Uh,
see the footage from the direct?
no, I missed it.
That was like the only thing I know about this game is that like I remember seeing it in a couple different Nintendo directs, and I was
Yeah,
like, woof, that frame rate looks a little rough.
that's fair. That's fair.
But I
I
think,
you
sorry,
think what?
I think there's crossplay with this, right?
Yes. So that's one of the saving graces. So all that stringent Forcing the hardware on people for the GameCube isn't a thing anymore. This is being released for PS4. It's being released for the Switch. It's being released for iOS and Android, and it has crossplay as well as cross save. So you can hop on your phone while you're on the bus. You can come home and play on the PS4, and as long as you own the game on both of those, you can share the save. And it has crossplay, so you can play with your friends on the Switch while you're sitting at home on your PS4.
That
And I
sounds
think that
really
breaks down
fun.
some of the barriers.
Yeah, that makes it definitely a little easier
Mm-hmm.
than having four fucking Game Boy Advance controllers.
Might be just a little bit easier, you know. Um,
GameCube did a lot of weird stuff like that with the Game Boy Advance.
it did, and yeah, I think it really hurt a lot of games. But then again, there were some games that were really special that played around with multiplayer. Like this one didn't do anything weird. It was just revolutionary. Tales of Symphonia. So Tales of Symphonia was, I mean, you've played it, right?
I'm familiar with it.
Familiar with it. So the
I'm
Tales
aware
series,
of the Tales series.
awesome, awesome. So Tales of Symphonia was like mind blowing as a kid
Hmm.
because it was like a classic RPG that you could play with four of your friends with normal controllers. So as somebody who played a lot of Tales of Symphonia and a lot of Crystal Chronicles, I was like, whoa, I don't need a Game Boy for this. We can just pick up our controllers and play. And it was pretty good. Like the multiplayer was like okay. It was the camera had some serious issues, but in terms of like being able to play with your friends in an RPG, that was pretty revolutionary for the GameCube, I think, at the time.
Hmm. You started this podcast by saying that you didn't know anything about gaming, and yet you come in here and you're dropping all this fucking GameCube knowledge on me that I had no idea about.
So my knowledge about games is very limited to the scope of what I played as a kid and the very, very select games I played as an adult. So if you're asking me about stuff from 20 years ago, hey, I might be able to tell you something.
Yeah, I
um,
get. Yeah, there's definitely that group of gamers I can see where it's like I played games and then I took a break and then I came back to games. So there's a lull there where I
uh-huh.
don't know anything about some of those games that came out.
Well, and for me, it was I never stopped playing a crap ton of games. It was just like when I hit late high school, early college, my gaming became exclusively Blizzard. So it became World of
Oh, okay.
Warcraft, Diablo 3, Heroes of the Storm, Hearthstone, every single game even Overwatch when it first came out, I played a little bit of that, and
I've
I'm
heard
not
you
an
can
FPS
put
person.
I've heard you can put a lot of hours into some of those games.
Oh, easily, easily. And I mean that carried me for almost a decade. I mean, it,
Yeah.
it did carry me for a decade. So
Wow.
I just now am I opening up to some new experiences, and I think I like it better. I think I like it better than playing the same 5 games for 10 years.
Mm, 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 mm.
You know,
Yeah. So
um,
that's
yeah.
cool.
So
It's cool to see you kind of playing some new games. I know you were
mhm.
playing when I first started watching you, and first kind of found you or discovered you or whatever. I mean, I don't know how to describe that really, but you were playing Gungeon, like Enter the Gungeon,
Yep.
and you were like, yeah, I haven't, it's a brand new game to me. I'm not very good at it, and you were like doing way better than I was. I was like, oh, okay, sure, pal.
What can I say? I really, really, really have been enjoying the roguelike genre.
Hmm.
Watching you play some games like Castlevania has been cool. I'm
Oh,
excited to take on some more Metroidvania style games. I actually recently played some more uh, what is it called? Hollow Knight for the first time in
ooh,
about a month, and it was really fun. It
Hollow
was
Knight.
super hard, but
Hollow
really
Knight
fun.
is moody as hell. That game has some
Yes,
big moods, and I love it.
yes. Oh man, but okay, so have you played through the entire game?
Yes, I didn't get like the true ending, but
Sure.
yes, I played through
So
all the main stuff.
I'm still very early in the game. I've only played about 5 hours or so, over like a month. But I got up to the Mantis Council,
Oh
and
yes.
man, I the first time I fought them, I died in about 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, yeah, that happens with new bosses in that game.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but I like a lot of the bosses in that game are like, man, this is incredibly difficult, but I see it.
yes,
I see what I got to do. I just got to do it, and it's hard,
exactly.
but it's not like,
It's achievable.
yeah, it's not like beating your head against a wall. Like, how the fuck do I beat this boss? Like, it's like I just gotta fucking perform here.
Yeah, when I fought Hornet, I also died in about, under 10 seconds, and then the second time I didn't get hit a single time, right?
Yep.
So it's just one of those games you pick up, you learn the fight, you get through it. It's not perfect. I definitely wouldn't say it's like a 10 out of 10, but the aesthetic is wonderful. The boss fights are great. The mood is fantastic. Overall, it's definitely a good game.
Yeah, it's one of those games where every once in a while I think back on, and it's like I'm suddenly like it just thinking about that game just brings me back into that moment of playing that game, and like
Uh
I can reimagine the moods that I was in, and just like yes, that game is so good. Very excited for the sequel.
Yes.
Very
Oh,
excited
wait,
for
wait,
that.
wait, wait. Hold on. Hollow Knight 2?
Yes. So
Ooh,
ooh, I'm gonna drop some shit on you here now. So
I'll
Hollow
take
Knight
it.
2, this started actually as a Hornet DLC where you were
Uh-huh.
gonna it was gonna be a DLC for Hollow Knight where you played as Hornet,
Very cool.
and Team Cherry was like, this kind of just like fell out of our hands and turned into something way bigger. So we just turned it into Hollow Knight 2. So
That sounds
um,
amazing.
yeah, Hollow Knight 2, you're gonna play as Hornet. There's gonna be tons of new. This is another game that like they put out a trailer, and it was like I want to say it was like a 4 minute trailer, and I watched like half of
Huh.
it, and I'm like, yep, I'm in.
Wow.
I don't want to watch any more of this game. I don't want to see like I don't want to see like the areas. I want to discover the areas
Yeah.
as I play the game. So it's like I'm not gonna watch any more of this game. I'm on media blackout. I'm good.
Is there a release date? I'm assuming no.
It's coming 2020. Let's see.
Okay.
I know it was like I think it might have been delayed at one point. Um, let's see. Release date is TBA, but they're aiming for 2020, I believe.
Awesome.
So yeah,
That will be
it's
that will definitely be a pickup, no doubt.
Hollow Knight Silk Song is the actual name of the game.
Beautiful. That'll be
Yeah,
cool.
great music too. Some of those like piano tracks I've printed off sheet music for and like learned how to play. Just very
Ooh.
very good.
Still waiting for that music stream, Michael.
I gotta figure
Still
out how to
waiting.
I gotta figure out like how to do that. Because
You could
here's the
always break
thing.
your guitar again.
I could. Here's the thing is that like I can play a couple songs on piano, but I'm not great. I mean, I was a
Yeah.
percussionist in high school. That was like my main thing. And
Yep.
so there's some keyboard percussion instruments which transfers a little bit over to piano, and
Bust out that
it's
maramba.
yeah. I was actually looking. There's an instrument that I want to get. It's called a steel pan, and
Ooh.
if you haven't seen this thing, go on to like YouTube and look this up. It's a very cool instrument. It's like, basically it's kind of like a steel drum that just like sits in your
Yeah.
lap, and you
Oh,
kind of
really?
just yeah, you kind
Interesting.
of just like finger this drum thing a little bit. It's
Is it kind of like you play it kind of like a bongo?
a little bit. I mean, you're playing it usually with your hands. I think you can use like a mallet,
Yeah.
but a lot of the videos that I've seen are just people kind of tapping on it
Banging on it.
and stuff like that,
Cool.
which is very very cool. So yep, I think that's gonna be.
Hold on, hold on. You asked me to sell you on Crystal Chronicles.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'm sorry.
I
I think
didn't.
I
I didn't
interrupted
get.
you. Yeah,
No,
bring me
well,
back in.
we got on this great tangent, and I'm all about the tangents. That's like my life. Um,
I'm ready for
but
it. Bring me
but
back
I,
in.
I gotta give you. I gotta bring you back into that full sell. So we talked a little bit about multiplayer. I'm gonna come back to multiplayer, but I want to talk a little bit about um, a game that maybe some other people might know, and that's an easy way to compare to Crystal Chronicles called Monster Hunter.
Yes.
So I don't know a ton about Monster Hunter, but I do own Monster Hunter World. I played it for a few hours. I really enjoyed it. And it seems like the main progression, correct me if I'm wrong, if you know more about Monster Hunter, feel free to hop in. But Monster Hunter, there's a big progression system around craftable gear, right?
Yep.
So as you collect these materials, you can make new gear. It makes you stronger. As your hunter level goes up, you can get better armor, etc. And it's kind of similar in Crystal Chronicles. So you do have this huge swath of craftable gear, but there's a lot of really unique gear as well. So you actually have 4 different character types you can choose, and they are racial character types. So you have the lilties, which are kind of like gnomes in fantasy culture, and
Mm-hmm.
they're focused on like melee combat, getting up in your face. They don't care about defense; they just want to poke stuff to death. Then you have the selkies. They're kind of like sea people or like sailors or sea elves, however you want to think about it. They're focused on long range attacks, and I'll kind of go into more about that when we get to the combat section. Oh yes, I've got sections. You
You've got the
have the
spreadsheet ready.
oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Some of the bullet points are still in my head, but you have the clavet. Clavet's like the traditional human. It's focused on defense. It's like well rounded, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they, in addition to being well rounded, they also have extraordinary defense options available to them. And then finally, you have the Ukes or the Yukis, however you want to say it. They're very similar to the Black Mage from Final Fantasy IX. So they're kind of like this empty soul thing inside a
Mm.
suit of armor, and they're very focused on spell casting.
Okay.
So the cool thing is you can build your character however you want. You can make your character whatever you want. You just have starting stats and gain racial gear that aligns with certain things, but you can really go in any direction that you want. So this craftable gear is really special in this game. You do have the generic armor. You've got bronze armor, diamond armor, gold armor, all that stuff. But then on top of that, you can go out and seek out these really cool racial armors as well. So you've got 4 slots for craftable gear in this game. You have normal armor, you have your racial armor, um, you have your weapon, and then accessories. So normal armor, pretty much the same for everybody. There are a few racial armors that you can get for your character, but they're a bit unique and not really part of like the main collection storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the weapons, and each of these are really tailored to what's best for your race, and you have a lot of customization.
How many weapon
So,
types?
sorry.
How many weapon types?
How? Oh gosh. So there are 4 main racial weapons, one for each race. But uh, but in terms of variation of like kind of the modifications that each one has, maybe around like 12 to 15 for each race.
Is there like either a big sword or a big hammer or some kind of big
Yes.
blunt? Okay, I'm in.
So Ukes have giant hammers.
Okay, I'm in.
Lilties, yes, Lilties have giant spears. Clavets are sword and board, so that is sword and shield. And Selkies are two-handed. They're kind of, I don't know how to describe it. They're called what are they called? I don't even remember. But they're like two-handed staffs, kind of. But
Mm.
they're
Like a
like
bow
mallets,
staff?
kind of. Yeah, yeah, kind of like a bow staff. Um, but in addition, so we were talking about weapon types, and I think I want to bring it into combat real quick, and then I'll jump back into to gear. But your attacks you kind of have a few default actions, and then you can customize the rest of your actions. And your default actions are attack, defend. Actually, those are your default actions: attack and defend, and then you can customize the rest of your actions to however you want to play the game. And there are kind of two ways you can attack. So you can attack, but just by spamming the attack button, and that's kind of like, okay, I'm hitting it, or I'm doing combos by hitting it in a certain order. And then you have something called a focus attack, and this is pretty critical to the game and like how everything works together, and some of the multiplayer aspects. So focus attack is where you like charge the button. It's kind of like a charge attack in Smash. So you'll hold
Okay.
down the button, you'll aim your weapon, and then you'll jump or move or strafe or however your race does to get to the enemy and strike them. And these focus,
During the charge attack for the hammer, is
uh-huh.
it a big smash?
It can be. So like
Okay.
I said, there are lots of different weapon types for
I
each
need
race.
I need the big smash from my hammer.
Okay. So one of the cool things about Ukes with the hammer that does that, it's called Meteor Smash, and this is actually
Yes. Okay.
this is their ultimate racial weapon. And if you get this, so Ukes, because they're magically inclined, generally people will boost up their magic through the game. It doesn't matter; you can go melee if you want. But the really cool thing about this weapon is that even though it is a weapon, when you charge up and do that meteor strike, it does damage based on your magic stat instead of strength. So you can basically just nuke everyone that you hit with your weapon,
Hmm.
with your giant magic attack through your weapon.
So are you fighting bosses? Is it
Yes.
kind of like Monster Hunter where it's like you're generally just like fighting a boss and then you're fighting that boss, dozens of time to collect the
Mhm.
specific gear for that boss, or is there any kind of like is it like boss focused?
It's both. So it's dungeon focused and boss focused. You have to be boss focused in order to progress, really,
Mm.
because that's where you get like the best artifacts. So I didn't even get into progression yet, but that's where you get like the best crafting recipes, the artifacts, all of that. And while you're getting to each boss, there's a huge dungeon to explore. Most of the dungeon you don't actually have to do. Like most of the time, if we're speed running a level to farm stuff, you can knock it out very quickly. But if you want to explore, if you want to gather items, there's this, just like in Monster Hunter where you have those big open worlds where you can go farm stuff. It's just like that. So there's lots to explore. There are treasure chests, unique enemies. And one of the cool things about this game is that these levels don't get stale. So the first level you ever go into, so time actually progresses in this game in game by year. So year
Oh
one,
wow.
yes. So like I think one of my save files, I was messing around and got to like 100 years or something crazy like that.
Holy shit.
Um, so you go into the first level in year one, you do it, you experience it. It's pretty easy, right? Because it's kind of an introductory level. But then you come back 2 years later in the game and you're like, whoa, this place has changed. Suddenly I've got, I was fighting a very small goblin here. Now there's a griffin that's like 8 times my size, and
That's
there's
cool.
four of them.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
So as the years progress, these places get more and more dangerous as you become stronger. So not only do you have to make sure that you're keeping up with the pace of these levels, but also that you're working together to be a little bit more creative, because it becomes more punishing, for sure.
Is it
Uh,
is it possible? I mean, I guess it is if you're playing single player. Is the single player synonymous with the multiplayer? So like if I grind in single player, can I bring that
yes,
player over to what I'm doing in
yes.
multiplayer?
So
Okay.
yes, it's all saved by character. So for instance, my goal, I'm going to 100% the game on at least one character,
Mm.
and there's really no 100%ing the game because there's too much to do. But in my eyes, that's getting every single artifact, which is one of the progression systems, on a single character. Now, realistically, I plan to play this game a lot, so I'm going to try to 100% it on every race, um, just to kind of try out all the different play styles that I want to enjoy. But let's talk about progression systems then. So there are kind of three progression systems in this game. First, you have memories. So this is more of a story aspect. So there's this cool part of the game called memories, where every time you encounter like a story event in the road, every time you beat a boss, every time you progress in the story, you get this thing called a memory, and it stores in a little journal,
It's a
and you
very
can actually,
JRPG thing.
very JRPG thing, and you can actually read through the journal and read all of these entries. And it's very cool. You can collect these memories. I don't want to talk about what they're used for. For just this discussion, let's just say that it's a cool way to kind of see what you've done throughout the story. And one of my favorite things are that these road encounters that you come across, some of them are randomly generated. So there are enough randomly generated options for these events where there may be some events that you run into that your friend, you guys could be playing for 5 years and you never run into the same event.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So I love that. I love that it's unique. You can get some really cool options. You can learn cool lore. You can get secrets about like how to beat certain enemies that maybe you didn't know before. So memories, that's one progression system. It's more story oriented, story light. But it's a cool, fun way to kind of keep track of what you've done, for sure. The next one is craftable gear. So we talked about kind of normal armor. Then you have racial armor. Racial armor, for the most part, you progress the same way. But once you get to the higher tiers, just like weapons, you'll have to farm the hardest level of bosses, um, hopefully with your friends, to take them down, get enough points, which we'll talk about in a second, to get that gear at the end of the boss fight. So I mentioned points. Every time you go into a dungeon, you have a point counter. Now, most of the time, these points are accrued by killing enemies, by collecting loot, and then you also have a secret bonus that you have to abide by, to gain additional points. So that might be, okay, your secret bonus is opening treasure chests, or your secret bonus is don't use focus attacks, or your secret bonus is use spell fusion to kill enemies. And we'll also talk about spell fusion in a
I love
second.
stuff like that. I love the weird kind of like, okay,
Yes,
now do it this way, and it's like, okay, I got to kind of work to do to
exactly.
do this, and it feels good to accomplish some of that stuff.
Yeah.
I
One,
just
and
love
it
this
helps
that
it.
kind of stuff.
Exactly, and it helps it keep it from getting stale, right? So,
Right.
so maybe you fought those griffins 100 times in your group, like you're really gelling and you understand how to do the fight. But this time, your main melee guy, his bonus is all right. Use spell fusion. Well, suddenly he's working with the Yuki to cast Fibroga. So it's pretty cool. I really love that, and that's why that was one of the pieces of information you got by hooking up a Game Boy Advance. So you'd have
Mm.
it on your little screen. I'm interested to see how they do that with the remake. I'm hoping they keep that in there because
Probably
it
just
was
like put it somewhere on the screen. I mean, TVs are huge
yeah,
now. It's like just put it somewhere. Just put that
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
somewhere on there.
or at least in
Um,
the menu or something.
yeah. Tell me about the music.
Oh God, oh, so I like the music is phenomenal. It's one of those soundtracks that I could just put on in the background and like get chills. Okay. So I define that music as like creative music. So it's like, did were you ever into Kingdom Hearts?
Yes, I
Uh,
was.
yeah. So that opening to Kingdom Hearts, the first time you played it,
Dearly
and you just
beloved.
got
Yeah.
this. Yes, exactly. That's how the music in this game makes you feel. At least for me.
I
And
wonder do you know off the top of your head who composed the music for that? If it was like,
I can't remember. There was a Japanese version of the music, and then they redid some of it for English, and the English version is phenomenal. I think I've listened to both, and they're both equally phenomenal.
I got
But I don't know the composer.
Kumi Tenoika,
Oh wow.
who's not someone that I am
Uh-huh.
familiar with for as far as like Final Fantasy composers or anything like that. You know, it's not Nobu Umatsu, I will say, but yeah, that's good. I mean, Final Fantasy is known for having great music, so
Yeah, but I like to say like you have to kind of divorce yourself from the idea that this is a Final Fantasy game. I think like maybe some of the character design and then the Moogles are there, and some of the spells and enemy types, but like it really does not play like any Final Fantasy game that I've
right,
played before.
yeah.
It's very unique. So let's talk about maybe some combat stuff related to multiplayer. So I mentioned spell fusion. So spell fusion ties into this whole way that like this is why I think multiplayer was like way ahead of its time. Um, your multiplayer experience is all about working together. Like you're deeply ingrained in what each other are doing. Um, in a way that I haven't seen a lot of games do before. So you have your attack and your defend, you have your focus attacks, then you have spells, and uh, I think spells when you add those into the mix are what make this game really special. So you have a wide breadth of spells. You have like your normal spells like thunder, fire, um, blizzard. Then you have holy to bring people back to or sorry, not holy, life to bring people back to life. It's like Phoenix Down. You have cure, and you can combine all these to do different things. So, for instance, say you're playing a Lil T and you're ready to charge in and start whacking, and you charge up a focus attack. That Yuki in the back sees that you're doing that. He can start charging up his fire, and right as you're about to release and run up to your enemy and strike them, that Yuki can light your spear on fire, and you can plunge your spear into the enemy lit on fire. That is just so cool. Like as an interaction, I love that.
Yeah,
You know,
like context
yes,
sensitive
exactly.
stuff.
Yeah, it's really special. In addition to that, talking about spell fusion, there's this whole world that you can open up with spellcasters. Where say you've got a Selkie and a Yuki working together. The Selkie has thunder and the Yuki has fire, and you're fighting an Abaddon, and that Abaddon is flying in the air. Think if So Abaddon's in this game is they're kind of like a Scyther as a Pokemon, but giant and beefy and really scary. So they're always in the air, which means it's really hard to hit them. So say these two come together and they align their spells right on top of each other, and they're very precise in their timing. Suddenly, their spells combine to become gravity, and they bring this huge Abaddon crashing to the ground. So they're vulnerable for a few seconds. So you
That
can
sounds
catch your
really,
breath,
really cool.
heal up. Oh,
Like
absolutely awesome.
get your ass down here.
Exactly. And it's all about context. So not only can you do gravity there, but say you guys have been playing for a while and you're really gelling. So now you're like, okay, we've done gravity. Now let's learn Graviga. So suddenly, instead of just like putting your spells over each other, you're like, okay, you start casting your spell now, and I'll wait 3 seconds and then cast mine. And the context of the game will know that we're working together, and we're going to cast Graviga. So not only does Graviga now take off 25% of their entire health bar, it's shutting them down for 10 seconds, and now we can just totally take them out, right? So you can your success and your ability to do these cool things all comes down to your comfort with your team and your ability to execute really precise actions together. And it's not just Graviga. You've got like you can create holy, so you can like murder undead with life and another spell. I think my favorite one are just like the vanilla elemental spells. So say you've got fire and fire, you can cast your fire by yourself. You can overlap them with another friend to have Fyra, or say just like we were talking about with Graviga. Say your friend and you are gelling. You cast yours, they cast theirs a second and a half later. Suddenly you've got Fyra, and it just fills up the entire screen, lights all the enemies on fire. The one who's closest to the blast just insta dies. You
Reminds
get
me
some
of
really.
like it reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever played like Magica.
I haven't.
Um,
I haven't.
it's kind of like a Diablo style game where you're playing as
Yeah.
like a mage, and you have like different buttons, and like the different buttons like build your spell, and
Uh huh.
so you can build your spell. You know, if it's like fire, 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 you get like this big
Right.
fire thing. If you do like fire, fire, you know,
Yep.
wind, blizzard, you get like some kind of fire tornado thing like that.
Yes. Yes. Exactly, and that's how it is in single player. So since you don't have those options in single player, you can either work with your Moogle to do the timings, or you can combine them yourself.
It
But it's
sounds like the Moogles are basically just like the Palicos in this
yeah,
game,
exactly,
which is
exactly. They're like
that's
a worse Palico.
yeah. I mean that's a good translation there. It's a good fit
Yeah,
for fucking Moogles.
exactly,
Are
exactly.
you
And
are they furry Moogles, or are they the more like balloony kind of Moogles? Because
they're a
like
little bit of both. I
because
think I think you see both in the game.
like Kingdom Hearts Moogles are like they look like balloons, right?
Uh huh.
And then like you get like Final Fantasy 12 Moogles, which are like all hairy and stuff.
I think you see a little bit of both. I think you see some that are balloony, some that have like human-like hair, which is a little weird.
Oh God.
I think you get a little bit of both. But yeah, those spell fusions like they really give you that pop in aesthetic. So not only are you rewarded with like a gameplay mechanic win, but you also get to see that destruction play out on screen that you did as a team. It's really special for sure.
Well, that sounds really really cool.
Yeah.
Like I had never really even heard of this game
Most people
until like
haven't.
until the direct came out, and I feel like not a lot
Yeah.
of people are talking about this game. Not a lot of people are not a lot of people are hyping this game.
Right.
It's getting to that point at the night where I just can't fucking speak, which is usually just all day. But uh, so I'm glad that you're like hyping this game up, because I'm
Yeah.
definitely more in now than I was watching the footage in that Nintendo Direct. I'm
Good.
definitely in for like I definitely enjoy my like, all right, I'm gonna grind, get the numbers, get the loot, get the gear,
Yep.
build my character, make my character strong and powerful, and that sounds cool. And it's
Yeah.
cool that
And
like if I played with you, like I could play. So it's cross play and cross save. You said
yes.
so
Yeah.
I
So if
could
you'd have to purchase it on another system, but
right.
if you did own it on both, you'd have that cloud save.
How much is this retailing for?
I believe on mobile it's 26, and on PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch I believe it's around $40.
So I could theoretically like play this game on PlayStation 4 and then when I just want to play like on my couch or in bed or
Yep.
something, play it on Switch and have like that same character.
Yep. Exactly.
That's that's really cool.
I know. I love that. I love that. And then there are a few more things about the game. So yeah. So you were talking about like grinding and progressing your character. There's
Yes.
another progression item I wanted to talk about, but
Do the
one thing I
numbers do the numbers go up?
yes, the numbers go up. The numbers definitely go up, but no matter how good your numbers are, it's one of those games where you still have to get good. Like
Yeah.
you could be an absolute beast. Like I've pimped out a character, but if I stand still for 30 seconds, I'm still gonna die. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you still have to work as a team, unless I mean, if you're playing by yourself, you have to work as a team with yourself. Just dodging stuff. Some of the fights get really tough. So like I mentioned, not only as the years progress, not only is the level getting more difficult with enemies, the bosses get new abilities. So suddenly that crab you fought in the first level is suddenly casting Thundaga every 14 seconds, and it covers 90% of the screen. So you've got to get to the right spot, right? Um, Suddenly they're casting their slow mechanic, every 4 seconds instead of every nine. So it definitely gets more intense as the game progresses, and you have to get better as you keep going. But one really cool thing that the remaster is adding are new difficulties. So there's actually post game content where you can unlock new levels and kind of mirrored versions of old levels. So in addition to, I was talking about the first level a lot. Once you beat the game, you can actually replay this first level in kind of like a hard mode. And there's some other levels that they're doing this for as well, where you get increased rewards, but it's much more difficult. So if you thought that super buff crab was hard, you've got to come back after the game, and suddenly they're just absolutely crazy. They've got all new abilities, all new animations, some really cool stuff that I'm glad that they're adding in that they did not have to. And on top of that, not only are they doing that for the base game itself, even if you're someone who maybe like can't commit to beating the game because it's hard and it's long, they're just straight up adding some new areas to these levels that already exist. So there's going to be new stuff for even people who played it back in the day.
That's like when you say new areas, like what do you mean? Like how?
So say you're in the mines, and there are kind of three different routes you can go. You can go clear out the route by the abyss below you. There are some cages where you can go open some treasure chests down the middle, or you can go up and fight some electric jellyfish to gain the keys to fight the boss. Well, now maybe there's a fourth direction, like a cave in the wall that goes and lets you go fight a mini boss. So there are going to be
Oh,
additional areas in these levels that did not exist in the original. New stuff to explore, new stuff to fight, new treasure to find.
that's cool. That's always cool to have for like for veterans. It's like, hey, we've got even new stuff for you. There's going to be new surprises and stuff that you haven't even seen before. I love
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
I love that in re-releases, in remakes, in all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Like, if I've played this game before and you're re-releasing it or you're remaking it, like surprise me with stuff.
Right. Right. Because you really want that. I know with the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, they added a few things that some people liked, some people didn't. Like they added time trials to both the first game and the second game. For me, time trials were always my favorite thing in Warped, so it was a nice addition for me. But on
Didn't
top
they
of
add
that,
in like cut levels and stuff too? Like
yes, which was
DLC?
amazing. Yeah, they did. They did. So they actually added DLC levels that were mostly free. Like if you got them at the right time, they were totally free unless you waited, a year. Um, you could go play those cut levels. I think it was called Stormy Ascent in the first game, and then
Yeah.
they straight up developed an entirely new level in Warped, and it may be the best Crash Bandicoot level ever made.
Wow.
Like
Okay.
it's
That's
yeah,
pretty high
I know.
praise.
I know. So like it it's one of those things where if this developer, I think it was Vicarious Visions,
Yeah,
they also developed
they did the Crash one, and then
yeah,
Toys for Bob did Spyro.
Spyro. Yeah, and they did a good enough job on that level where like I'm comfortable saying if they released their own Crash Bandicoot game, it could easily be as good or better than the OG Crash Bandicoot games.
I
Like
think
that's how good their design is.
I think Vicarious Visions also made like those Game Boy Crash games, which were actually
Yeah, they
pretty
did.
good. The Game Boy Advance ones, like the one where
Uh-huh.
you're like, I forget, it's like the one where you're like tiny or some shit.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. The one where like yeah, there were a
it,
few Game Boy games. There's one where you actually play in Spyro's World as well.
yeah, Crash Purple and Spyro Orange, whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
I played both. I had
exactly.
both those games. Yeah, they were like
I
all
never
mini.
played them.
They were all like mini game collections mostly. Like you kind of explored a
Okay.
level a little bit, but you know they were. It was cool to see like Crash and Spyro
Uh-huh.
fight, but I
Oh,
remember
so okay. Go
one
ahead.
weird thing I remember about the that Crash game too was that the Crash Purple was that
Uh-huh.
you could like change the color of Crash's like jorts. You know,
Yeah.
Crash famously has like weird jorts.
Yeah.
Uh, so you could like change the color of those, and as a kid, I was like, "Whoa, Crash is wearing different colored pants." It was like
Yellow shorts.
it was such a feature thing for me. I was like, "Holy shit, he's got green pants on! It's blowing my mind." Crash doesn't wear green
Oh
pants, but
man.
now he's wearing green pants.
By the way, when you were telling me about the tattoos on Crash, I was so confused
Oh man,
the other day. I never played those games. I never played those.
yeah. So for context, I was streaming last night, and you came in, and somehow we started talking about. I brought it up as the Crash remake, but
Right.
I was thinking of the Crash reboot, and
Yeah, yeah.
I was just talking shit, and you were like, "No, I love the remake. The remake's so good."
Yeah.
I was like, "You love those fucking tribal tattoos and shit," but I was talking about the reboot and not the remake. I just misspoke, but
Right. So like Crash of the Titans and all the associated games.
yes, Mind Over Mutant and Crash of the Titans. I think that's the only
Uh,
two of those reboot games that were made.
yeah, they didn't last long. And you know, I'm sure I'm sure there's an audience. There are probably a lot of people who love those games. It just wasn't me. I wasn't ready for that big of a change in the series. I like to keep it classic with the platforming, I think.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's interesting to see like you know they remade the three Crash games. They remade Crash Team Racing. Clearly, Activision sees Crash and Spyro as I mean the Crash remake sold like bonkers. I mean that
oh
game
my
sold
God, yeah,
that game was like on the charts in the UK. Apparently, the UK loves Crash, but that game was like on the charts, like the top 5 charts in UK for like a year or some shit. Uh, it's very popular, very successful those remakes.
hmm
So yeah, it'll be
yeah,
interesting to see if they're like, okay, we're gonna make Crash 4, and it's gonna be like you know it's not gonna be like Twin Sanity
hmm
or any of these weird games. It's just gonna be like you know your classic Crash game, and we're gonna make new
Now, did
levels
you
for
hear
it. And
about? Have you heard about some of the disgruntledness around the Crash Team Racing game that came out?
I know they added in microtransactions like after the
Yeah.
fact,
Yeah,
so
yeah. That was a big pain point for a lot of people. Now, I think if I understand correctly, I think the microtransactions were exclusively for cosmetic stuff. If they weren't, that sucks. But at the same time, microtransactions are everywhere now. It's a little weird that they added them in after the fact, but that seems to be a pretty common play
yeah,
these days.
it is kind of slimy to be like. I think they even
Yeah.
said like, "Hey, we've got no microtransactions in this game at launch," and then you know
Yeah.
6 months later, here they are.
Yep.
Activision is always weird with that. They're always going back and forth between like, well, we don't have microtransactions now,
It,
but
didn't they do that with a
now
Star
we
Wars
do.
game and it was like it ruined the game?
That was EA. That was EA.
EA. Okay, okay.
That was with Battlefront 2, which is to be fair in a much better place now than
Okay.
when it launched. But yeah, like progress and like upgrading your character was tied to loot boxes. So like
Right.
people would get upgrade cards to do more damage, and that was tied to. So yeah, you
That's
could
so
be fighting
bad.
someone with a really good card,
Yeah.
and it's like they're just straight up doing more damage than you, and
They paid four hundred
have
dollars for it.
they just
Yeah.
straight up have like more defense. But I think they either toned some of that stuff down. I believe there are still loot boxes in the game, but I believe they toned some of that stuff down, and I've heard that game is in a much better place now. They keep adding like new levels and stuff. The last time
Okay.
I played that game was when they added like Geonosis, which was
hmm
actually a pretty cool level. Um,
Well, I wonder about those additions. Like, so because I'm not a huge console gamer outside of Nintendo, I'd love to know your take on this. So, when games do that stuff, that game has been out for like 2 years now, maybe a little more.
yeah, I
Is
think
it
it
too
came out.
little, too late? Is it too little, too late for that stuff?
I don't. Depending on how you do it, I mean, the game goes on sale now for like $10, and so
Right.
it's like, hey, this game's in a much better place. There's tons of content now. Um, the loot box stuff is toned down a little bit. So for $10 you could do worse. You could do worse. For a
That's
Star
fair.
Wars, for like I mean, the game looks phenomenal. The
Right.
game looks really really nice, and all of those sound effects and stuff that you expect and want from a Star Wars game are really really good. I think it's always better to be great out of the gate and at launch, but if you're gonna stick around with your game then and improve it, then I can't knock you for that.
That's fair. That's fair. I can see that. You know what? And maybe it's good that they're pulling in a new audience. Especially if they did make some changes that improve the game, gives people a good new experience. Maybe it'll build hype for another game they can make the right way the first time. But yeah, I was just curious about your opinion since I don't experience that a whole lot.
Yeah, the story still sucks in that game. The story mode is
Okay.
still pretty bad, but I
Okay.
mean
Fair enough.
that's just kind of. I mean, story modes in Star Wars games are hard to do, and there's some really great ones, and there's some ones that are just like, oh my god, this is just like the same shit that I've
Yeah.
been dealing with. It's like the exiled Empire soldier who joins the
The secret
rebellion,
Jedi.
and
The
yeah,
secret
oh my
Jedi
god.
that the secret Jedi that you didn't know existed.
Let me tell
There's
you.
actually another one out
Let me
there.
tell you how much I fucking hate. There's like after this is like a whole rant. Let me tell you about the fucking secret Jedi. There's like
Tell me about
10,000 secret Jedis now. You know, Luke
it. Yeah.
Luke was supposed to be like the last Jedi.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be special to be like, oh Yoda, you're like the last. There's like 50 other guys out there doing stuff. There's like all these
I know.
guys. There's all these guys in like the Rebels TV show. There's like all these guys. I mean, I guess some of the stuff isn't canon anymore with like the Force Unleashed and stuff
Yep.
like that. But you've got this new character in Jedi Fallen Order. He's like a master Jedi. He's going around. He's doing stuff that like Luke couldn't even do.
Right.
But like he didn't fucking matter. He had some kind of weird side adventure, I guess. And then it's,
Gotta milk it.
I understand that we want to have a game where you play as a Jedi,
Yeah.
but like, can we do a different time period? Can we do like go back to the old Republic and do some shit and do some
Right.
shit there?
Explore some stuff that hasn't been explored before.
Just
Take us to a different place, a different time.
No more secret Jedi. I swear to God,
No, yeah.
and this won't be the last too. This
Of course
redheaded
not.
this redheaded guy from Jedi Fallen Order, he will not be the last secret Jedi.
Of course not. Of course not. So anyway, so yet again, I'm all about the rants. I'd like to dig into like points like that. We've still got a couple things on Crystal Chronicles, very important.
Oh my goodness,
I'm telling you, this goes on forever.
I'm
so
like
there are only
I'm like taking a class here.
I know, right? So there are kind of two pieces left. One
You got
is
two more pieces.
got two pieces. They're small pieces. We covered a lot already. One is so we're talking about like
I better get like a printed diploma after this.
your PhD.
Yeah, I fucking I put my credits in. I got my 4 credits for this class on Crystal Chronicles that I just took.
Hey, I gotta sell it so hard. Every single person, all the people who listen to this, need to buy this game and play it with me. Please add my friend code. Put it in Michael's Discord.
Yeah, I'll definitely. I'm probably gonna be in and play this with you.
Good, please. So one of them is it kind of goes back to that time aspect. So one cool thing, in addition to the levels, I forgot to mention, in addition to the levels progressing throughout time and the story progressing throughout time. That's a whole. Okay, I got to get into the story as well. The world changes, so it's not just the levels, but the world. So this miasma is a poison upon the earth, and it at times it can block you from getting from place to place. So you have this chalice that you carry around, and one person in your group needs to carry it with you, so that you don't step outside the ring of protection and die to miasma. Which, by the way, in multiplayer you can troll the heck out of your friends by just running ahead and killing them.
Okay, that's always a fun one.
Oh yeah, can't wait for that. But there are these elemental wells in every level where you can go and put your chalice on to gain that energy, and you gain a certain protection or ability or effect. So, for instance, if you go and get water, for instance, you can't be slowed. If you go get fire, you can't be burned, etc. So it gives you some element of protection, but it's also how you progress through to other areas of the game. So, say you've got like a single area and there's maybe like 3 or 4 areas to explore. In order to go to the next area, you'll need elemental protection from your crystal in order to get through that cave of miasma to the other side. So that's one element. Every year that changes. So you have to constantly make sure that you're going and getting that new protection for your crystal, so that you and your group can make it to other levels. There is fast travel later in the game once you've spent some serious cheddar. Uh, but there are some other really cool moments. Like there's a sluice, a level that's like basically an irrigation system for an entire region in the game,
Mm.
and you actually get to see in real time every year as this sluice goes through periods of drought and goes through periods of being full, and there are entirely new areas that unlock when there's a drought, for instance. So suddenly all those lakes, all those areas with water are completely dry, and you can go down there, fight some new enemies, collect new treasure. So you're going to see a lot of variation and a lot of differences based on even just years that you go.
Would you say
And
that the
this
world of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles feels alive?
Oh, extremely. Oh, so much so. And this kind of ties in with the story aspects. So the story, for the most part, there are a lot of the main story exists, and you have to go through that to progress. But it's very light. So like you'll learn a few things here and there. You'll get some really cool tidbits, but a lot of it is up to you to go and explore if you want to. So there are some really epic quest line. There's just one epic quest line that like if you do everything in as quickly as possible, takes like 7 years of game time to
Oh my
complete.
god.
And it's a huge emotional and financial payoff if you complete it. It's really special. It's really intense and emotional, and there are a lot of these other things. So I don't want to spoil too many story elements. I want to let people find them. But there's this really great one where like you meet these two characters in the game that really love each other, but they're halfway across the world from each other. They're halfway across the world from each other, and you actually, as you're progressing through some of these levels, you'll find like notes from them. You'll find information about their love, and you'll get to find out the fate of that relationship. Kind of like you know. Dark Souls is probably a bad example, but these are things that you find by exploring the level, right? So it's not necessarily going and speaking with these characters, even though
Hmm.
you can go
It's
to these
not.
characters.
You're not handheld to do these quests. It's like,
Yes, it's totally up to you. Totally up to you. If you choose to explore, if you go and look around, you'll find some really special things in the game that'll like give you chills, make you cry, make you smile, make you laugh, and that's really special. It's totally up to you to decide how much of that you want to absorb and enjoy.
that's really
So
cool.
that,
I,
yes, so
I'm
that's
glad. I'm glad that you are the champion of this game. I'm glad. I'm glad that somebody is, and I'm definitely more sold on it than I was,
good.
because I really didn't know anything about this game, and I hope other people are convinced and sold by it too after taking your class here.
Yeah. Yeah. Crystal Chronicles 402. This is actually a graduate level class, hence the PhD that Michael's getting from it.
Yes,
But,
yes, yes, yes.
but yeah, it's a special game. Unfortunately, both in its initial release and its remake, it's not getting a ton of marketing, which is unfortunate. But I understand because it is a small game, and I'm honestly shocked that they did a remake. Like they must have had somebody who was just a diehard fan who said, "Okay, we got to make this happen," and who had a lot of money to produce it.
Yeah,
Um,
there's either someone in Square Enix who's like, look, I really love this game and I just want to,
yeah,
or it's just like, hey, we're sitting on this. It's mostly complete, and
yep,
we released it on the GameCube and had this weird Game Boy thing. It's like now consoles are a little more modern, and we can
yep.
put this out without some of the weirdness, and maybe get some new people and get some people back, and
Hmm.
I mean we're just
And
sitting on
there,
it.
exactly, and there is no physical release outside of Japan, so you will have to download it, which is obviously expected for like mobile, but maybe not for PS4 or Switch. So it is download only. So make sure you have the room for it. I don't know the download size yet. I don't think that's been released. But
It's
I
probably
know for
pretty
the
small
Switch,
for a GameCube game. I
yeah,
mean,
I can't imagine it's more than a few gigabytes, and that would be shocking if it was even that much. So
I'm sure that all of Crystal Chronicles is like the file size for that whole game is probably less than the file size for Noctis's hair in Final Fantasy
yes,
15.
yes. How,
His hair is like a whole gigabyte or two. It's like
which is
shit.
insane. Oh
Yeah.
my god, I love it. And then the final part that I wanted to talk about was the last progression system. So we discussed memories, kind of a story element for the most part until you find out more about what they are. Craftable gear, which is tied to a lot of things, including race. Oh, I actually didn't go into artifact. No, sorry, we'll talk about artifacts, but accessories. Accessories are another armor type that you really get to tailor your character to in any way you want. So these artifacts do, or sorry, not artifacts, accessories do basically anything you could possibly want. If you want protection from being stunned, if you want your magic to be stronger, if you want to be able to charge enemies further away, all these things can be done via accessories. So you can go out and find the monsters or the treasure or whoever you have to fight to do this and customize your character any way you want based off of these items. And there's a huge breadth of them. I think the original release had around 70, and they're actually adding new items in the remake. So there's going to be even more customization in how you build your character. And that ties in to now artifacts, which I kept calling artifacts, but I said accessories. These are artifacts. And this is really the progression system that allows you to customize your character down to the stat point. So artifacts are an item that you collect through exploration in a level and when you beat a boss. So when you beat a boss, no matter how well you did in the level point wise, you're always going to be given a select 4 items. So those items could be crafting recipes, they could be rare crafting materials, but most often they are artifacts. And an artifact gives you a stat boost of some sort. In addition, if you choose to explore the level, if there are artifacts you haven't gotten from that level, you can actually go out and find them in treasure chests. If you choose to explore the whole level, you can get up to 8 total items to choose from at the pool at the end of your level. So when you beat that boss, there are kind of 4 tiers of loot. So you get what you got in the level. So that could be 4 artifacts from the level. And then the boss loot is in 4 tiers. So say your team did really crappy and you're like, okay, we literally didn't do any of our bonuses. We're in tier 1, we'll get the basic artifacts. Say you're tier 2, you get something slightly better. Tier 3, hey, there's some really good stuff here. Tier 4 is like god tier. That's where you can get like your best racial materials to make your racial weapons. But you have to like really work together as a team to make sure your bonuses are met to do that. And at the end of it, say you're playing in 4-player, everyone based on who has the highest point value, so whoever did the best chooses their artifact first and goes down the list. And these artifacts could give magic, they could give defense, strength, and this is how you can really customize your character to how you want to play. So maybe you do want to play a melee uke. That's totally fine. Go full strength and defense. Say you want to be like the ultimate tank as a clavet.
Yep.
Go get your racial shield. Go get your racial armor because clavets are special. They have actually 2 racial armors that they can get because they're all focused on defense. It's a giant chocobo shield. Super cool. Just spam defense and only take half a heart from anything in the game, you know? So some really cool customization options there.
That's cool. That's really really cool. I want you to know that during all of those rants, I took many big water gulps.
Good.
It was fantastic. Finally,
I did the same. I did the same earlier.
Finally, I can drink water on the podcast.
There you go.
That's cool. When's that game coming out again?
I believe January 23rd, 2020.
January 23rd, 2020. PS4, Switch, PC, mobile phones.
Not PC.
Oh, not PC. Oh,
Not
interesting.
PC. PS4, Switch, and iOS and Android.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for telling everyone what this game is about, since you're the only one that played it.
I know, right?
Yeah, that's truly great. I love that stuff. I love being the champion of some small niche game or something like that. So yeah, that's I think that's gonna wrap it up for today's podcast. It's episode 5. Thank you, Luke. Thank you so much for joining me today. You're a great guest. I love talking to you and I love all your streams. You know, once again, this is all shills, no frills podcast. Let the people know where they can find you, let the people know what you're going to be playing in the next couple
Yes,
weeks.
yes. Sure. So you can find me at twitch.tv/ Bluechromed. That is BlueChromed. And at Twitter at Bluechromed1, because I don't have that OG Bluechromed in my Twitter handle. I'm going to be playing. What am I playing? I actually just recently wrapped up all my major games. So I'm trying to
Early,
find
right?
stuff to play.
You weren't
Yeah.
expecting them to wrap up so early.
I know I wasn't. So I literally have nothing on my list until October 31st when Luigi's Mansion gets here. But
Ooh.
currently on my short list, I'll be playing some roguelikes like Streets of Rogue, Enter the Gungeon, Hollow Knight. I'll be playing some more of my Pokemon Red Nuzlocke. And I
How's that
was going to
going?
be. It's going really well. I'm a little surprised at how easy it is. I'm a little like concerned that
Really?
I'm cheesing it too hard. Yeah, I have not lost a Pokemon in about 3 streams. So
I
we'll
guess,
see.
yeah. I don't know. Would you say like the older Pokemon games, like I mean, obviously that's Gen 1.
Uh-huh.
Would you say like they're harder than what did you play? You played Heart Gold?
Heart Gold
Your
and Soul
your last
Silver. Yeah, so Heart Gold and Soul Silver was difficult because it was a marathon.
mm,
It took, it's 16 gems, it's 2 Elite Fours. It's basically at least two
two
games in
games.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge amount of content. Um, and it was definitely harder. I think this time because that was my first Nuzlocke ever. So this is my second Nuzlocke ever, and I think I've been playing it a little too safe. I've been like grinding the hell out of my Pokemon, making sure that like I can basically kill anything. And I will say it's like detracted from my excitement a little bit. I
I
think
can kill anything.
exactly. So I need to dial it back. Maybe not grind as much. Maybe never. So I've been grinding off stream. Maybe not even do that. Just go for it. And if I lose a Pokemon, that's part of a Nuzlocke.
Yeah, that's the
You know.
drama. That's the drama that people tune in for. People want
Oh
Pokemon.
yeah, man.
Habari always acts like it's a bad thing for Pokemon to die, but that's when the
No,
actual
that's the
content
best.
begins, is when Pokemon start dying.
Well, especially if you're invested. Like I almost cried when I lost eBay in my run. And I don't know how much you followed from that, but it was like a soap opera. So eBay lost like late into the second half of the game when we were doing the last 8 gems. Um, and it died because it used Blizzard and got reflected by a Mirror Coat Blissey. Totally not expected. Blissey is like 800 health and Mirror Coat does double of whatever the damage it took. So of course, at
Mm.
one shot, eBay, who had with gone our Nidoking since the first gym, so it was super sad, super messed up. I was like in tears. And then we get to the Elite Four, and the very last Pokemon of the champion was a Blissey with Mirror Coat. And who took it out? Gone. Who was kind of like the best friend of eBay. And those are
That
those special moments
that
that you
is
get with the drama.
that is so dumb, but I love it. Like
I
it's
know.
so stupid, but it's the best.
It really is. It was the best ending. I literally didn't even do red because I was like so satisfied that Gon got revenge as the very last thing I did in that game.
Yeah,
I was
I
like, okay,
mean,
there's no other way I could end this, you know?
I guess if you wanted to do the OVA, you could go back and play Red.
Yeah,
but but
the crap
otherwise,
OVA that no one wants.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Um,
But there is actually one more thing that I wanted to stream today, but we've been having some technical
oh
difficulties
yeah,
on my
shit,
end.
dude. I'm so sorry about this.
Yeah, thanks. It's really upsetting. I spent like 9 hours last night working on this with Pip Girl and memory cards. They both like dug in and really helped me with this overlay. Um, and it's not working, but we'll be back up soon. I'm gonna try to do it next Sunday. We're doing a Twitch plays of Into the Jaws of Doom, my favorite Goosebumps book of all time. Really cool overlay that has like a death counter, some alerts that like have the "you died" from Dark Souls, and I was like,
Oh man, you got to
oh
get a
yeah,
thanks Obama alert in there too. Then
yes, yes. And there's like a full inventory system that keeps track of the player's inventory as they make choices. There are dice to keep track of rolls we make. There's even a map system that I added to the overlay. So you can actually follow along as you collect maps to see where you are in the book. All kinds of stuff. Really excited to show it off. Should be fun. Something totally different from what I normally do.
yeah,
But
that's such a cool and unique idea. Like,
thank you.
excuse me, I just like I don't know, I had a heart attack or some shit. Um, but yeah, that's it's really cool. It's cool to see you kind of do. You play so much. You have such a variety in the games that you play, and it's really
Just trying to
cool.
have
And you're very engaged with your chat. You're very nice to your chat,
fun.
unlike I am. I my gimmick is to bully chat, so
Well, it's okay. I bully you when I'm in your chat, so
yeah,
it kind of
yeah,
works out. It's a
it
two-way
does.
street.
Um, so
That's my shilling.
you're gonna hopefully have that back up on Sunday.
I really hope so. I'm kind of working with the support team on Streamlabs with that. They're gonna try to hook me up with one of their backend devs because it's that bad of an issue. They're literally gonna have to go in and like manually delete stuff in their cloud data in order for me to use it even locally on my machine.
That's insane.
Yeah, so it's pretty intense, but hopefully I'll be back up and streaming by the end of the week. Hopefully, crossing my fingers.
Yeah, I hope that works out too. I was really looking forward to that stream, and I
Me
still
too.
am, and I really hope that works out because I think that's going to be tons of fun for you and the audience as well. Everyone that comes by to watch that.
Thanks, man. Love you,
So
Michael.
I love you. Maybe not as much, but you're in there.
Hey,
You're
I'll
in
take
there.
it. I'll take it. I'll take it. That's a
Uh,
win.
you're at the bottom, but I mean, love is love, right? I mean,
Hey, bottom's
even
pretty
if I
good.
love you like the least, like it's like I still love you.
It's still something.
Yeah, it's still something. I don't hate you. I guess it's you're not in that group yet,
Not yet. Hey,
but
I'll
you'll
get
get
there.
there. Yeah,
I'll
you'll get
get
there.
there.
Don't worry about it. Everyone gets there for me. Everyone gets there.
Good. Good.
So for me, I am back. I am back home. I am back at the home office. So Spooky Hype Gaming will continue. Next week, I am planning on playing pretty much every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We're gonna be playing. We're gonna be starting with Resident Evil Revelations. So I have Revelations 1 and
Ooh.
Revelations 2, and depending on like how I feel about these games, I might do full playthroughs or we might just play a little bit. But I have Revelations 1 and 2 on deck. I have Resident Evil 6, which I've never played before. It's famously like the worst Resident Evil game, like mainline game anyway. Um, we talked about how the logo is just a man giving fellatio to
Yes, the
like
giraffe.
I can't. There's no way to see that logo and not see that anymore. Like there's no way to see that as a 6. Like it's
It cannot be
impossible.
unseen. It
It
cannot be
can't.
unseen.
Like you talk
No.
about, everyone talks about things that's like, oh, once I see it that way, I can't unsee it. But like that logo is not even a 6 at all. It is
No,
literally just
no, it's a giraffe.
it is
It's a
literally just
giraffe.
a giraffe with its dick out, and he's forcing a man to suck it. I mean, that's just what it is.
I mean, you're not
Um,
wrong. You're
so
not wrong.
yeah, I've never played 6. I would like to just put my hands on it, and even
Cool.
here's the thing about streaming that I love is that even bad games are fun.
Yeah,
Even bad games can turn into something
it really
unique.
can. So,
Um,
so did you ever beat that Castlevania game, that 3D one that you were playing?
Lament of Innocence, no. It
It
got
was
like
time to put it
weird.
down. Yeah, the
Yeah,
exploration and
I might come back to it, but for the month of October, the event, Spooky Hype Gaming that I'm doing, I don't want to spend any more time on it
yeah,
because there's other games to play. But I might come back to it. I did really like that game. That game really surprised me. That game looks really good. It plays pretty well. Some of the progression stuff is a little too obscure, but I might go back to it. The other thing is that like I don't really want to play PS3 games on stream for a bit because
yeah. That's
setting the
fair.
PS3 up for streaming purposes is just so
I know you've had
annoying.
some issues with that.
Yeah, it's weird because like I played 3 different games, right? I played a PlayStation 1 classic, and then I played a PS3 game, and then I played a PlayStation 2 classic. And so like
Yeah,
when I played Metal Gear Solid 1, everything worked fine, but then when I played Costume Quest, it wasn't recording my audio for some reason, and so I had to change some stuff. And when I went back to play Lament of Innocence, which is a PS2 classic,
right.
it got weird again, and it wasn't recording audio. So yeah, it's just a pain. It's just a pain.
PS4 time. Yeah,
Yeah, the PS4 is easy. The reason why the PS3 is so difficult is because you can't turn HDCP off in a setting, which HDCP is like says that like you can capture stuff or not.
uh huh.
So on the PS4, there's a setting where you can turn it off, and when it's off, you can't like. When it's on, you can't record like YouTube or any of that stuff. So
Right.
that's what it's there for. But you can switch it on and off. Whereas with PS3, you have to get like an HDMI splitter, and you have to run all these HDMI cords in and out of the splitter, and it's just a mess.
It's just way too much work.
Yeah, it is. I would like to play Dead Space at some point, but we'll see.
So, do you have anything? So, I'm a huge advocate and fan of Spooky Hype Gaming. It has been like the highlight of October on Twitch for me. I've been having a blast watching you play games, getting spooked along with you, just having a good time. I'm curious, do you have anything planned for like a Halloween stream or kind of the week of Halloween? Anything big planned to really
So for work,
cap this
we're
off?
we're dressing up at work on Thursday.
Yeah,
So, Thursday, or is it Thursday? When is Halloween?
it's a Wednesday. No. You're right. It is Thursday.
Okay, so Wednesday, we're dressing up the day before because somebody's going to be out from work on Halloween, so we want to do it where everyone's there. So Wednesday, Halloween's on Thursday, so Wednesday's the day before. So Wednesday, I will be at work in costume. So when I come home, I'll keep that costume on. So I will be in costume for stream. So that'll be a thing.
Heck yeah.
And I won't spoil what it is, but it's pretty fun.
I'm really excited.
It's pretty appropriate for who I am. But and then Thursday, I don't know. I might stream Luigi's Mansion 3.
Really?
It's a possibility.
Okay, well, I am immediately canceling my stream to watch it.
Yeah. Do that for sure.
I am really excited.
I'm not sure if
game.
I'm gonna do it or not. I guess it depends because I have a list of games that I want to play.
Yeah.
For Spooky Head Gaming, but it depends. I might do it. I might not. I haven't decided yet. That's the last week. It really kind of sucked having this work trip in the middle of October because it's just a whole week where
a whole week.
Luckily, October this year is like weirdly, it's like almost 5 weeks long, so it kind of worked out okay. But yeah, that'll be next week. Gonna play a bunch of Resident Evil games, and then also I announced this on Twitter, but just to announce it here, November 2nd is. Are you familiar with like Extra Life at all?
So I actually saw it on Twitter, but I don't know a lot about it. I'd love to hear more from you.
So Extra Life works with all of the like children's healthcare circle hospitals and stuff. So here in Atlanta, we have children's. They call it CHOA. It's Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. And so Extra Life, I believe you can donate like all year long to it. But Extra Life is kind of like a gaming themed charity event.
Cool.
For those children's hospitals. And so once a year they do like a game day where a lot of people do 24-hour streams. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. I'd love to do one, but I'm definitely going to be playing on November 2nd a bunch of games, and everything, we're going to have donations open, and everything that's donated is going to go to Children's Hospital or Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, here in Georgia. And my goal is $100. I've put in 25 myself, so
awesome.
We've got 3/4 of that to get from you guys. So
definitely got to hit that goal. I'll definitely be there.
Yeah. So I'm planning on playing a bunch of side scroller games. I'm trying to work up what the title is. Right now it's like Go Right for Charity or some shit.
Okay, cool.
I don't know, but
I
yeah,
really like that. That's really good.
I'm going to be playing like a bunch of side scroller games. I'm going to be starting with a full playthrough of Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, which was the not Ritual of the Night. So Curse of the Moon was like the Castlevania 3 style game where it was all like pixel art, and it's pretty short, but it's a really, really good game. So I'm going to do a full playthrough of that. We'll probably play like some Mega Man games and some Shovel Knight and some Mario games and some Donkey Kong Country and all those good side scroller games. Might check out that new ukulele game because I haven't played that yet.
Yeah, very solid game.
So yeah, that'll be November 2nd. That's which is coming up. It's pretty soon.
Cool.
So again, don't know if I'll do 24 hours, but I'll definitely do longer than I normally do. So
awesome. Definitely gonna have to come out and support.
Yeah, please come out and support, please. It's for the children. I know it goes. I said this on Twitter. I know it goes against my gimmick of eating children, but for once we can help I don't eat the sick children, I guess we'll say.
Uh-huh.
I don't eat the sick children.
Just the healthy
So,
children.
yeah,
You get them healthy so you can eat them.
yeah, I don't eat the sick children, so the sick children need help. They can be helped and all that stuff. That might be my fucking podcast title there. Jesus.
There you go. I don't eat the sick children.
Yes. I don't eat the sick children. It's true. This is
Wonderful.
It's a fact. The other thing is that the podcast is now available on pretty much everywhere that I want it to be for now. It's available on SoundCloud. It's available on Spotify. I posted on YouTube. It's available on iTunes now. iTunes finally accepted me. It's available on the Google Play Store or the Google Play Music or whatever the fuck that's called, and it's available on Stitcher. So if you have any of those services, this podcast is available there. So have fun with that.
Awesome. Looking forward to when that Charmin does get released. I'm looking forward to having you in my butt and many other people's butts.
Try not to get too much shit like in my hair, because like
I'll do my best.
The other thing is that the squares are going to be extra large. I demanded this.
So
like
wow.
you have plenty of face to smear the shit like on my face, Like get it in my mouth, but like keep it away from my hair, please.
No,
please.
No. I'll do my best.
Okay, thank you.
Best, Michael.
Thank you. Okay, and our last thing, our final closing bit here is I'm gonna grade you on your SAT prep. So how do you think you did?
I used it 2 or 3 times.
You used it 3 times. I took a tally. So unfortunately, you're only supposed to use it once. Unfortunately, you used it 3 times, which is over the limit. So you do fail. Today's SAT prep. So I'm going to be giving you a hokey video game quote, and we're going to close the podcast with you reading this quote. Are you ready?
Thanks. Okay. I'm so ready. Hit me with it.
Here it is.
Guys, thank you so much for coming out to the Super Hype Gaming podcast. I want to end on a quote. We are the sons of Sparta, and within each of us flows his blood, but more importantly, his soul. And now my soul is saying that it wants to stop you.
Okay, a little more casual than it was originally read, but I like it.
Keeping it cash.
Keeping it cash. Okay, and that's it. Thank you, Luke, for joining me. Thank you, Luke,
of course, Michael.
a.k.a. Bluechromed. That's it for today's podcast. Thank you. Goodbye. Good night. Goodbye.
First she squeezes the tomatoes, then she squeezes the melons, and now she's squeezing the new Charmin bathroom tissue. Please don't squeeze the Charmin.
But Mr. Whipple, this new Charmin bathroom tissue is so soft, so squeezably soft. Oh, that soft fragrance.
Mrs. Logan.
Charmin is so deep down, squeezably soft, it's irresistible.
But Mrs. Logan, the sign. Oh, if you only knew, Mrs. Logan. Can't resist it myself. I love to sneak a squeeze on the sly.
Mr. Whipple, please don't squeeze the Charmin.
New squeezably soft Charmin bathroom tissue from Procter & Gamble. Take it home and squeeze it.